Friday. Gotta get down on Friday.
Where's your enthusiasm? Why aren't you yelling?
I don't yell, Lonzo. If there was a list of adjectives to describe me here on the show, calm, cool, collected, refined, I think would be on the list.
Don't let the outside bring your DBs down.
Hello, upstate South Carolina. Hello, America. Hello, world. The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. This is ESPN Upstate. What's happening, y'all? It is great to be back with you again. 3 hours of sports talk excellence starts now. I am Rob Brown. Directly across from me, the gentleman in charge of this and every other broadcast you've ever heard on this station. He is the alpha and the omega of ESPN Upstate, the great one, #Dadcase, Colonel Grudge.
You think you're being sarcastic about that, but it's kind of true. So, I mean,
I wasn't being sarcastic at all. If it comes through your speakers, ladies and gentlemen, Lonzo has put the seal of approval on it.
Well, yeah.
Good to be with you. Busy day coming up on the show today. We are officially into the Winter Olympics, and we're going to give you just a bit of a preview and recap of day number one. Tell you where we stand right now. The ladies hockey team rocking the red, white, and blue. Big start to the hockey tournament for them. We'll tell you about that. Lonzo, I don't know how much you've gotten to see of it so far. Don't worry, I'll catch you up. But curling is underway. It is curling season, ladies and gentlemen.
I did get to see the captain of the curling team leading. He was holding the flag.
America knows what's up.
Yeah.
America, you know how many times that, you know what? This is that guy's 5th Olympics, Lonzo. 5th time that he has gone to the Olympics to skip the men's curling team and a mixed doubles team. 5. Pretty spectacular. Pretty spectacular. We're going to talk about that coming up later on in the show. Obviously, we are still checking out the fallout from National Signing Day 2 days ago. We've got some breaking stories that have come out after that. If you have not been on social media in the past, let's call it, 17 hours, the saga of Bryan Harsin down at Auburn is remarkable right now. Remarkable. Bryan Harsin has had an exodus of players and coaches leaving from Auburn. 20 players have left that program since the end of the year. 20 players have left the program. 5 coaches have left the program so far. 5 have decided to head elsewhere. There's an exodus out of Opelika, Alabama, of players and coaches. And last night, a number of reports started dropping that the folks in charge of the AU are potentially going to move on from Bryan Harsin after just a single season. Then smoke started coming up on social media. And again, I want to emphasize loudly that as of right now, this is a rumor. But the rumor is that Bryan Harsin may have been caught, shall we say, adulting around with a recent college graduate that came with him to Auburn as a member of his staff, may have been adulting with her in an inappropriate relationship, which a lot of people said, why would this get blown up, right? If you're going to fire him because of football, why would you fire him? Well, Bryan Harsin has in his contract a morality clause. And if he was to have done this, it would probably violate the morality clause. And if that's the case, Bryan Harsin could be let go without the 70+% money that is guaranteed to him, whether he gets fired or not, by the end of his contract. Kind of interesting. We're going to talk about that later on. Keegan is added to the stream in all caps.
Allegedly.
Yeah. Allegedly.
A moral clause, I've never seen a moral clause. I've heard about them. Are they defined about what's moral and what's immoral?
I don't think so. Not like specific definitions.
So
right?
it's subjective to the morality of whoever is judging.
So yes, but when you sign the contract, you agree to that, right? Like when you sign the agreement, the morality clause is not a secret. You understand that that clause is subjective upon the person who makes the decision.
By the way, he's completely wrong in doing what he did and should be punished for it. But I'm just curious about, because it seems if a morality clause is not defined exactly what it is, it's very general. So you could basically be fired for anything.
According to Marquette, Law School of Marquette, they said the definition of a moral clause, according to the Law School of Marquette, in order to understand exactly how in order to understand how morals clauses work, it is important to define exactly what is a morals clause. A morality clause permits an employer to discharge an employee for off-duty conduct that breaches the employer's ethical expectations as outlined in the employment agreement. Morals clauses are designed to prohibit certain behavior at the outset of an employment agreement, eliminating questions about what is included in phrases like just cause. In addition, morals clauses can be used to punish past behavior, allowing employers to terminate employees for previous indiscretions that were not disclosed to the employer. While most morals clauses fail to grant employers the option of recouping their prior investments in employees, they do serve to put employees on notice of behavior expectations, which could result in grounds to terminate the employee who violates those expectations. Morals clauses are essentially good conduct clauses that allow companies or employers to punish potential violators. A morals clause must be specific enough to put an employee on notice of the type of conduct that violates the clause. Morals clauses have become standard in most sports contracts, partially because sports professionals face extensive scrutiny in the news media. Morals clauses, in an athletic sense, are contractually agreed upon provisions that give teams, leagues, or companies paying coaches an ability to punish for criminal or unseemly behavior, end quote. So in a lot of cases, and there's like a whole 7-page write-up about morals clauses from Marquette that I'm actually going to read through during the break because I find it very interesting. Suffice to say, I'm relatively sure that cheating on your wife with a girl who graduated college 2 years ago that you hired to work on your team, most people are going to consider that a violation.
Yes, I think so. Yes.
If it's true. Rob, why would you bring it up if it's not true? Bring it up if it's not true because there have been a couple of relatively reputable sites. On3 Sports has grown in popularity. Ivan Maisel runs On3 Sports. Maisel, remember, used to write for Sports Illustrated. In fact, we interviewed Ivan Maisel at ACC Media Days. Great guy. Great dude. Love that guy. He's about as reputable as you can ask. And it's his company that came forward with this up front about this report. But like I said, it's not so much about whether or not Brian Harsin was sleeping around with an intern. That's his business. It's between his and his wife. What interests me in that it would be likely a violation of the morals clause, which would let Auburn fire the guy after 20 players and 5 coaches left his program and not have to pay him about $17 million worth of severance, which means they're going to get set back if they got to move on to a new coach after a year anyway. But keeping 17 mil in the bank will help with that process.
So what's the real reason why everyone's leaving? It's probably not because of that.
Well, one of the kids who left posted it on his Instagram, and I'm going to read that to you coming up in just a few minutes. But before we get there, we got to go here.
Let's do lunch.
This is a very nutritious lunch. All the food groups are represented.
What in the wide world of sports is going on here?
I think noted Auburn fan Keegan Sullivan's caps lock key is stuck, Lonzo. He has said, allegedly, Lonzo, it's alleged, no proof, if, and all of those are in all caps. Keegan, is your caps lock button stuck?
Did the players and coaches allegedly leave, or did they actually leave?
Oh, no, they're gone.
Okay.
They're gone.
All right.
Texter says, this came in during the lunch breakdown intro, and I can't wait to read it. Texter says, Lonzo, war spread eagle. There a war cry I can get behind, ladies and gentlemen. War spread eagle.
Yeah, I got nothing over here.
Brian Harsin got something in Opelika. That's why he's in this position. Ladies and gentlemen, only the finest, most mature content brought to you by the Rob Brown Show here on ESPN Upstate. Beautiful. Well done, Texter. I respect that. Item number 1 on the lunch breakdown today, the top 3 things you know before you go start talking sports with your friends, family, coworkers, or the dog. We won't spend a ton of time on these because I am going to get to all of them later on in the show. We start with this. Trevor Lawrence has his new head coach. Jacksonville Jaguars have officially hired Super Bowl winning coach Doug Peterson as their next head coach. They made that announcement late last night. The Jaguars picking somebody who's about as opposite from Urban Meyer as you could possibly ask, which, okay, I guess they kind of got it right, although not entirely, and I'll tell you why later on in the show. Meyer, 13 games with the team before he left after embarrassing them and himself on his way out the door, took over with no NFL experience. Instead, Peterson, a former NFL quarterback who worked 6 seasons as an assistant under Andy Reid before his first head coaching job with the Eagles, has 5 seasons of head coaching experience, 42, 37, and 1 during that time, highlighted by the franchise's first Super Bowl back in 2018, his second year with the team. They bring in a guy who has an offensive mind, who has done it before, who won a Super Bowl with Carson Wentz and Nick Foles, for the love of the football gods, to try to fix Trevor Lawrence after Trevor Lawrence's rookie season was crapped all over by Urban Meyer, ladies and gentlemen. Slam dunk hire for Jacksonville. Obviously, there are questions after what happened towards the end of Peterson's career. Won a Super Bowl, but fell off the other side very, very rapidly. There was obviously the relationship with Carson Wentz fell apart. Some people say it was because of the repeated injuries by Carson Wentz. Peterson ended with back-to-back 9-7 records. The bottom dropped out last season when the Eagles fired Peterson after going 4-11-1. But why is this interesting, aside from the fact that this is what they need to do to save Carson Wentz? Well, the Jaguars wanted Byron Leftwich as their head coach. Of course, Byron was probably ready to go after Tom Brady announced his retirement last weekend. Byron Leftwich, in fact, went to Jacksonville, interviewed with Jacksonville, apparently told Shad Khan he wanted the job, except for he put a condition on it. I'm not going to take it if Trent Baalke remains the GM. I want you to bring somebody else in. The Jaguars apparently had a conversation with a member of the Arizona Cardinals staff to elevate him to GM. But when Leftwich said to Shad Khan, I will take the job, but Baalke has to go, Shad Khan decided, you're not going to strong arm me before you even get the job. No thanks, Byron Leftwich. We're going to keep Trent Baalke in the position of GM. And Lefty said, later, and split. Shad Khan would rather, by the way, there were rallies. Jaguars fans barely come to Jaguars games, but there were rallies around Jaguars HQ from fans in Jacksonville wanting Byron Leftwich, a franchise favorite player, to be the next head coach after he won a Super Bowl as offensive coordinator for the Bucs last year.
You know, I get all that, but when you came here, did you go to our esteemed boss, Mr. Hendricks, and say, here are my stipulations. I will work here if you do this? You don't do that to a prospective employer, no matter who you are. You don't do that.
Sure
and
you do.
And expect to be hired.
Sure you do.
I will practice.
When you are sought after as Byron Leftwich, let me put it this way. You're right. I didn't do that because when I came here and I looked around and I met you and Diesel and Mark and Steve and Devin and all the people who were in this building, I liked everybody. Now, if I got offered the job and instead of Big Mark running the show, he had another underling under him who said, Rob, when you get here, you will only talk nothing but Clemson football. I gotta tell you, I probably would have said, nah, I'll take the job if that's not a requirement, right? And if they go, well, then you're not hired. Okay, that's on me. That's a choice that we have both made.
But there's a difference there. That is the job and the people at the job telling you what you would be expected, rather than
job here.
But if you and tell me what to do, because this is your first demand without even being employed, what's going to be the next thing you do?
Let me make myself sound bigger.
I think
let me make myself sound bigger than I am. Okay, I, Lonzo, am the host of the South Carolina Broadcasters Association Sports Talk Radio Show of the Year. That's the Super Bowl of sports talk radio shows in South Carolina, right? Now, let's say that I had a station in Charlotte, in Charleston, and in Atlanta. All three call me, and all three say, Rob, we want to move you into the I'm not going anywhere, much to the chagrin of many people listening. I'm not going anywhere. But let's say hypothetically those three stations called me up and said, Rob, we're interested in hiring you to be our afternoon drive time guy here in this market because we saw that Crystal Trophy and it's really pretty and we'd like you to hang it up in our city, right? So I got options on the table. And I went and I visited Charleston, Charlotte, and Atlanta. And when I went to Charleston, I got there and they said, hey, man, do what you do. Do what you do the way you do it. And then I got to Charlotte and they said, you're only going to talk about the Panthers. But they gave me a little offer for a little bit more money. And then I went to Atlanta and they said, you're only going to talk about the Falcons. And they offered me a little bit more money, right? I could go to Atlanta or Charlotte and go, hey, I'm interested in the job. I like Charlotte. I like Atlanta. I'd like to be here, but I don't feel comfortable only doing my show about the Panthers, about the Falcons. I'd like to do a well-rounded show. If that restriction isn't there, I'll take the job. And if they say, if Charlotte says yes, that's fine, but Atlanta says no, all right, I'm going to say, Atlanta, no, thank you. I'm not taking the job. Because I have the ability to decide what the job looks like on my end, just like the business owner does. Shad Khan had an opportunity to go to Byron Leftwich and go, you know what? I do want you to have the job. I think you're the right guy. You've been running an offense smoothly, and the Jags fans are literally throwing rallies out front of my office to have you be the head coach. I accept your terms. Trent Baalke's out. We'll help pick a GM. You're good to go. He has the right to do that, and he also has the right to say, no, you're not making those demands, which is ultimately what he did.
This was a power move on Leftwich's part.
Sure, because he's got options.
Because everybody.
I don't think he has
I will come here if you fire this person. You just don't do that. He never wanted the job in the first place.
You have options.
Never wanted the job.
This is one of those times that I will say respectfully, this is I'm not like that, so nobody's like that situation.
No, it's not that. It is not that. I'm looking at it from a boss's perspective. If someone comes in and says, hey, I'm get rid of him, you're not working here because you don't put those demands on a prospective employer because you're not employed yet. And
if Jim Rome called and said, I'm looking to shift out of a bigger market into a smaller market, and I'd like to come there and work there, but I'm not going to work there if Diesel works there. I promise you. Now, I'm not going to use that example because it's a local example.
No, it's true.
Because I have worked at multiple stations that would absolutely have let me go if that was a stipulation to get a bigger name.
It's bad business. It's really bad. Leftwich never wanted the job. You don't go in with that kind of demand.
You're wrong.
Did not want the job.
You're wrong.
Didn't want it.
You're wrong. You think that because that's how you feel about it. I absolutely think Byron Leftwich would have loved to come be the head coach of the team that put him on the map. But here's the thing. here don't have multiple job offers doing exactly what they
I
want to do.
disagree. We have a very smart audience, and they're sought after by people in the world. I'm sorry.
And this is going to come down to a philosophical point. This comes down to a case of who do you believe owns the power in an employee-employer relationship? And to me, an employee ought to have as much of the power in terms of their own relationship with the employer. If you are not happy in a place and you leave, you're not a bad employee.
You know, that's fine when you work there. But he doesn't even work there. You don't go somewhere you want to work and say, I'm coming in, but these are the changes I want made in order to come in. If he was that
Necessarily. Relationship between the head coach and the general manager in the NFL. I would say it's the most important relationship in any franchise is between the GM and the head coach. Right? I would say it is the number one most important relationship in the building. And if you go, me and that guy will not be able to coexist in an office. So I'm not going to work there. Fine by me. I get it.
Well,
I've had bosses before I could not coexist with, and I had to go.
The fact that you're not willing to try means that you're not willing to try to be a good employee, and I don't want you.
You've never had anybody you just could not coexist with.
I think we know. And I coexisted for nearly 2 years.
Yeah.
So
then what?
And then separation occurred because of management.
I'll let that rest. I'll let that rest right there. All right. Let's come back. When we do, there is something happening down in Mobile, Alabama right now. I've told you guys for a couple of weeks that I think the Carolina Panthers have set themselves up to draft a quarterback. There is smoke coming out of Mobile that I think makes me right. I'm going to tell you why when we come back. Rob, the great one. You. No, Lonzo's great. I'm not the great. It's not Rob, the great one. It's Rob, comma, and the great one. And you on ESPN Upstate.
I get that, Adam, but he already worked there. That's the thing. It's more about going to a prospective employer and saying, "Hey, I'm not working here unless you do this." I don't see how that's successful often. Maybe it is. To me, that you can make those demands. And then the question is, was he surprised?
Trust me, I know about joint pain. Sure, I made it look easy, but if my body could speak, it would say, I'm in pain.
Are you living with chronic joint pain? Knees, hips, lower back, shoulders? Don't just assume the old treatments are the only treatments.
I'm going under the knife to get rid of pain, but now there are options, and you need to check them out.
Emmett's talking about QC Kinetics, exciting new natural biologic therapies that can repair and restore damaged tissue in your joints. New options now available here.
You can encourage your body to actually heal itself with the help of QC Kinetics.
Real relief with no surgery, no drugs, no downtime. Call the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics for regenerative restorative treatments with lasting relief.
But now, you and I, we have help. QC Kinetics.
Start now with a free consultation at QC Kinetics. 864-448-3772. That's 864-448-3772. Call today. 448-3772.
If you're looking for a new job with great pay and benefits, Auto Kineton is for you. Formerly Tower International, Auto Kineton is hiring with a $500 to $2,000 sign-on bonus.
So, in case you think I'm joking,
I'm 100% cool with it.
This report is sponsored by Audible. Make this the winter of you with Audible. Listen to the best of what you love, from comedy to wellness.
you know, as someone who used to hire and I gave that up because I hated it, I'm just imagining myself interviewing someone and them saying, "Yeah, I want to work here, but if I do, you got to fire this person." I just,
As a commentor in the text or in the Facebook stream just pointed out, Adam reminded us that the reason Jim Harbaugh left the 49ers was because of Trent Baalke. I'd also like to point that Trent Baalke is the guy who decided, hey, it's a good idea to hire Urban Meyer as the head coach. That went great.
so I think this is all about and you guys are glossing over the fact that a prospective employee has come in and told their prospective boss, "I'll work here if you do this," and that's the problem.
Sure. If
Boss- don't see how that works.
if Byron Leftwich, scratch that. When Byron Leftwich gets a job, right? And if Bruce
How many?
yes, 3 or 4. I think 4. If Trent Baalke, scratch that. If Byron Leftwich takes a job and goes somewhere else and is as success, I think Byron Leftwich has got the tools to be a successful head coach.
By the way, I want to point out I like Byron Leftwich.
Yeah.
I liked him as a player in college and in the pros, and he seems like a good coach. But I just think it's a bad move going in
Sure.
and saying what he said and expecting. And I asked this of the stream while you were out of the room. Was he disappointed with the answer, or did he know what the answer was going to be? He knew the answer would be, no, I'm not going to do that.
I think Byron Leftwich took a shot, right? But I got to tell you, I think he knows if he's working under Trent Baalke, he's set up for failure. You ever turned a job down because you knew it was set up for failure? I have, one time. I've turned a job down because I looked at it and I went, this is not going to work. This is not going to be great.
No, when I'm looking for a job, I'm pretty desperate. And
Right, but here's the
and
thing.
I also been here for 22 years, so I don't remember a
Here's the
whole
thing.
lot about that. part.
And you're exactly right. Byron Leftwich is not desperate for the Jacksonville Jaguars job because he knows he's going to be a head coach, right? There's too much fire around his name right now.
But see, I don't know that he does. If any prospective team out there looks at this and goes, okay, we'd like to bring Leftwich in, but if he's going to make these demands, then we're just not even going to buy.
Demands about the program. It's part of the territory is running.
This is the
You
first
think-
time
Trent Baalke right now is a lightning rod for the media because of what's happening in Jacksonville. It is easy to rent. Let's tell you a quick thing about this job. If it's easy to rip on somebody, folks in my position are going to rip on him. Part two, every NFL coach has gone to the owner and said, I want this. I want this guy let go or fire. If Bill Belichick fires a guy from his staff.
General, I don't think you can say every.
If
NFL
Bill
coach.
Belichick fires a guy from his staff, is that not Belichick saying, I don't want this guy working here?
He's already the boss and they work there. That's the whole
It's
thing
still a
that we're talking about. It's different when you go to a prospective employer and say, I will work here if you get rid of this person. I don't think it's standard practice like you do. I think you're wrong. And and even if it were standard practice, that's messed up. It's really messed up. And as someone who used to hire, no way I hire someone if they say that to me.
Right. And you also run the risk of passing up on an incredible employee.
I'm going to pass up
who has
on
a condition.
an employee who will come up with something else the next week and a week after that. Well, I want this done.
Well, you hiring for this radio station, let's use that as an example, guarantee you have an almost infinitely wider talent pool to select from than qualified NFL head coaches, right? Hell, half the head coaches that are head coaches aren't qualified head coaches. There's not that many. Byron Leftwich, a guy that's learned from Bruce Arians how to do it, a guy that has been successful in that role for Tampa for the last couple of years, and a guy that the Jacksonville Jaguars fan base finally got excited about something. Remember, this is the same fan base that 4 weeks ago showed up to their stadium dressed as clowns to protest their own team. Finally rallied around something, and you're like, nah, I'd rather have the guy that hired Urban Meyer, right? Every employee has conditions for the job they work for. Every single person who's in a job has conditions. You know, Lonzo? So if the boss called you right now and said, Lonzo, we're going to start paying you $10 grand a year to do this job, you would stay?
That's a raise.
You would not stay. You would go to the boss and go, that's not acceptable to me.
See, here's
do better or I'm out.
I don't put those things out there and say, if this happened to you, because you don't know what I've been through. And I don't know what you've been through.
No, I don't. I'm asking you today. If the boss called down right now and said, Lonzo, I'm really sorry, the budget's tight, we're actually going to have to take 20 grand off your salary.
Would you really?
Which means now you owe us $10,000 a year to work here, apparently.
Again, you think you know how much I make. And the other thing is, if me working here was about money, dude.
Okay. The point is, as we skirt around the actual answer to the question, every employee and every prospective employee has conditions that they will either accept or not. Byron Leftwich had one. I'm not working for Trent Baalke, who's bad at his job.
This argument really is about the fact that he doesn't work there. If you work there and you make a demand, the boss will say no, and if you don't like it, you get fired. But here.
Games. Every person who accepts a job, you didn't always work here, right? There was a day where you sat down with someone who worked here at the time and said, these are my conditions for employment.
Let me tell you what happened. Okay. The other radio station, the first radio station I worked at, they fired us all in front of everybody as they changed formats. It was really messed up, by the way.
Yep.
I needed a job. I went in. put on it because I needed a job,
Cool.
I would have said yes.
That just means that you were willing to accept lesser conditions because you wanted a job more than you wanted to not have a job. And that's fine. That's your position that you were in, right? Now, if another radio station called Rob Brown and said, we'd like to make you an offer to come do your show here, right?
You know, you've been saying that an awful lot lately.
not
You
going
need to-
anywhere.
I know,
Calm
but you need to
down.
be careful with that
I'm
analogy.
not leaving until we
just
get
saying.
5 trophies. All right. When I get to Booker T, you know, we'll see. I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah,
I
that-
love it here.
That might be about retirement age for me. So there we go.
If some other radio station called Rob Brown and said, we want you to come work here, right? Because of how much I love Greenville, Spartanburg, the upstate, because of how much I love this job and the people I work for, and I'm not blowing smoke. I mean that. Ask anybody that's around me in my circle. I love this job. That means that if somebody else called me and said, we want you to come work here, right? The conditions that I would lay down under which I would leave ESPN Upstate to go to that station would be monumental. Double my salary, get me a private car, a helicopter, right? $1 million in unmarked bills. The conditions I would have would be galactic brained, okay? Those are the conditions. And if that prospective employer refused to meet my conditions, I would go, all right, no, I'm good, right? Because I already got a job, and it's a job I like, and it's a good job, and it's with people that I like, doing what I like in a town that I like. So to get me out of here would take an offer that I would have to go put it on my boss's desk, and he goes, oh, nice, good luck, have fun, right? That's the kind of offer it would take. That's what Byron Leftwich, that's exactly the position Byron Leftwich is in. He's in a place where he's going, for me to accept a job, to get me out of the job I'm in, these are my conditions. And yes, they may be higher than somebody struggling to find a job can fathom, because when you don't have a job, any job is good. Any paycheck's good. But see, Byron Leftwich has already got a job, and it's a good paying job. And it's a job in a franchise that is currently winning. We'll see who they get in at quarterback to replace Brady. But he's got a good job. And if you've got a good job and you're about to jump to a new job, and somebody, a prospective employer comes to you and goes, we would like to hire you away from the good job you already have, then you go, well, if I've got a good job and you want me to work there, it better be a great job. And here is what I need it to be a great job. And Byron Leftwich said, this is the condition I need to make this a great job to get me out of a really good job. And the Jags said no. All of this to say, to circle back around to the beginning of the conversation, all of this to say, this is a mistake from the Jacksonville Jaguars. You have elected, let's keep a GM who ran Jim Harbaugh out of one town, a GM who has a 21% winning percentage in that role, and a GM who decided to hire Urban Meyer over one of the youngest, hottest coaching commodities to come in. By the way, a guy who knows what it takes to succeed at quarterback in Jacksonville, because he did it, to coach Trevor Lawrence. We'd rather have Trent Baalke. The end of the day, clown emoji, Shad Khan. Quick break, back after this on the Rob Brown Show, ESPN Upstate. Texter says Lonzo sounds like Tina from Bob's Burgers when he mumbles. That's a very specific take.
I have no idea who that is. I
You
know.
ever watch Bob's Burgers?
Nah.
You'd like Bob's Burgers. It's a very amusing, clean adult cartoon.
Clean? That's not for me.
Lonzo's a big fan of the gore and the vulgarity. Excuse me for just a moment, stream. I will return very briefly.
NBA Clippers coach Ty Lue, not sounding too optimistic about Kawhi Leonard, said he's probably not going to be back this season. Leonard's not played at all this season as he rehabs from a torn ACL. Lue confirmed that Paul George will have an MRI February 24th to determine if the torn UCL in his shooting elbow has improved with time off. He's missed the last 22 games. Utah's Donovan Mitchell returns from concussion protocol tonight against the Nets.
Steven. Good eye, buddy. I can't trick Lonzo. Lonzo's untrickable. Lonzo's too smart to be tricked. Just ask him. He'll tell you.
I'm not smart.
But me have feelings.
Lonzo just pawn in Game of Life.
I have been told that your mic while you were making your point on the last segment over the stream was going bad again. So we need to get that.
There's I don't know how to fix it,
I don't know, but we need to tell the people who might.
And they tried to fix it.
Oh, they worked on it.
Yeah, and when I was at home, and they were in here setting it up on this side because you were going to have to do everything. We had a discussion about it. They tried to fix it, and they think it's on the StreamYard's end. So when Owen would yell, it would completely cut out. When you yell, it doesn't. So I don't know. And to the texter who said I was mumbling, if you're actually on the stream, I talk quieter so I can actually be heard on the stream.
You think it has anything to do with proximity to the mic? Like maybe
That's what Tony, yeah, that's his name, has said to me. And I have turned the mic up and backed up, and I can do that again. The problem with that, it goes against everything I've been told about, radio microphones, and it's difficult for me.
Yeah.
Because I'm an old dog, apparently.
Yes, Steven, we have Fanboy Friday lined up this afternoon.
Do we?
2:20.
Do we?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yes, we do. Keegan, I will be watching Boba Fett and Peacemaker both on Sunday.
I'm trying to get him to watch Boba Fett so he can see the good, the bad, and the ugly. They don't go in that order, by the way. They definitely don't go in that order. You, in theory, have the Harley in the next break.
In theory. Chris fixed me up this morning to where I can start dubbing the promos in, so you don't have to worry about it anymore.
Cool. Stop it, Steven. You're spoiling. He hasn't watched.
It's Disney. Grogu's a $1 billion character. They're not putting him on the shelf.
Dude, you have no idea.
He's going to start showing up in the Marvel universe because of how much money he makes.
Maybe.
This song, Lonzo, known as Insane Locomotive. What's this track called?
This song is called Dog Lords.
Texter said Lonzo sounds like Tina from Bob's Burgers when he mumbles.
I want to sound like the God Pigeon.
That's the type of high quality radio people come here for.
I don't know if you watched Animaniacs, but God Pigeon was amazing.
I met Rob Paulson once.
I hate you because there are some people that I don't really hate you, but there are some people that you have met that I really would like to meet. I would say nothing to them when I met them, but at least I would,
Rob Paulson, a very famous voice actor who's done a lot. And if you grew up around my age, you watched the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle cartoon on Saturday mornings back when I was but a wee little lad.
Cowabunga, dude.
So Rob Paulson was the voice of Michelangelo in those cartoons, and I had him record my voicemail greeting as Michelangelo from the Ninja Turtles. So for about a year and a half, if you called me, Michelangelo from the Ninja Turtles asked you to leave a message for Rob, which was pretty radical, dude. Hey, here's a fun thing to talk about as we kind of bounce all over the board. Mobile, Alabama, the Senior Bowl is taking place this Saturday. But really, the Senior Bowl is just about this week, right? Like most outside of the coaching staffs that are actually coaching the Senior Bowl game on Saturday, most of the guys from the NFL teams leave on Friday after the last practice. They'll watch the film of the game later. it's a job fair, right? Like it's a job fair for prospective NFL draft picks. The best senior football players from around the country go down there. They throw on their college helmet one more time for the road, and then they end up, working out in front of scouts and coaches from basically all 32 NFL teams, looking to see who's going to stand out. Well, there is one name that is standing out right now at the Senior Bowl very impressively. And that one name is Malik Willis. Malik Willis is the quarterback at Liberty University. Malik Willis used to be the quarterback at Auburn University, but he got beat out by a young man named Jarrett Stidham. And he left. Auburn transferred, ended up going to play at Liberty. He has been lighting Senior Bowl practices on fire for the past 4 days. Guy has been incredible. I watched some film from him earlier because for maybe the first time, Malik Willis is actually surrounded with NFL talent. There were questions about Malik. Is he too fast to run the ball? Is he too reliant on his athleticism to make plays? And there have been a lot of folks who have said, yeah, he is. But to come back to that, the answer to that is he didn't have a choice because there's nobody else at Liberty University that can make plays for him like there were the wide receivers that Sam Howell was throwing to or Kenny Pickett was throwing to. He didn't have any talent like that, any true D1 talent at Liberty. And so there were questions about, is Malik too fast to use his athleticism? Well, Malik, at the Senior Bowl, surrounded by NFL caliber talent, has looked good. Now, there are questions about his accuracy. He's had a couple of passes that have gotten away from him. That's a really good way to get yourself picked off in the league. But it's not been that much. He's looked really good at Senior Bowl practices. And we found out yesterday morning that the first two interviews that the Carolina Panthers coaching staff did with players at the Senior Bowl were with Malik Willis and Kenny Pickett, the young man out of Pittsburgh. Those two guys were the first two. Now, yesterday, scratch that, Wednesday afternoon in Mobile, Alabama, as it tends to do along the Gulf Coast, it rained. And they held the practice in the rain anyway, because that's a real thing that's going to happen to you. And Malik looked really good in the rain. Kenny Pickett, who has been criticized for having too small of hands, is a thing that scouts look for. Kenny Pickett looked really bad in the rain. Malik tore it up. Then yesterday, they moved the practices to an inside facility at the University of South Alabama, just outside of Mobtown. And Malik lit it up there too. This dude has been aces at the Senior Bowl so far. I'm going to go ahead and prepare you, Carolina Panthers fans. I'm going to go ahead and get you prepped and ready. At the 6th pick in the 2022 National Football League Draft, the Carolina Panthers select ding, 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 Malik Willis, quarterback, Liberty University. He's your new guy. Watch. He has lit up Senior Bowl practice. The Panthers went out of their way to meet him first. Dude is putting everything they want to see on the board. They can get an offensive lineman later in the draft. May have to make some moves to do it. But Malik Willis will be starting for the Carolina Panthers next year. Book it. Let's take a break. We'll come back, wrap up hour number 1 on the Rob Brown Show at ESPN Upstate.
See, the problem with that, Steven, is if they were to do that to Peacemaker, the show would last 10 minutes. If that.
Christmas episode?
What he's talking about, the Deadpool did a Christmas episode, and what they did is they removed all the harsh cursing and a bunch of that stuff.
Yeah.
No way you could do it with Peacemaker. And I've only watched 3 episodes, but there is no way you could do it with that. It's that raunchy.
I'm excited.
If you were going to compare it to something, though, Deadpool would be the thing to compare it to, except up another level.
Yeah.
I mean,
like Deadpool on violent cocaine.
Love the savings. Furman fans, you have 2 more opportunities to see your Paladin men's basketball team.
it gets worse after that, Steven.
It gets worse than that.
Although episode 2 and 3 are not nearly as, I mean, they're still pretty, or maybe I'm getting desensitized. They're not nearly as, that first one was very impactful and as over the top as they possibly could get.
Well, if it's not for Steven, I'm probably gonna love it.
I think one of the first things I said to you is that you will absolutely love this show. I'm guessing Chris hasn't seen it yet, because if he had, he'd be in the office every day wanting to talk about it. He laughed so hard at Deadpool 2, I couldn't hear out of my right ear for 3 days. You've heard how loud he gets. I could not. It's just like, oh. I made sure he sat between me and Cameron, though, because I had an idea and I wanted someone else to share in my suffering. He had a great time, though. That's all that matters. Next time I'll bring cotton. I can't wait to get back in the office and work on our project.
What day next week after the show do we do the Fight Club podcast?
See, we could have did it yesterday, but I'm still recovering from the.
So Thursdays?
Thursday's
After the
fine
show on
because it's still fresh.
Yeah. That lets us get Raw, SmackDown. Nope. Raw, NXT, AEW. Nope. NXT.
No, you get
Dynamite.
AEW.
Yeah, AEW. All in and preview SmackDown and Dynamite. Rampage.
The other one, the Friday night one. That's what I'm just calling Wednesday and Friday.
Let's just get Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday in and preview Friday.
There you go.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, some more stories we got coming up for you in the next hour. I want to dive back into that Brian Harsin story for 2 reasons. One, because Keegan has cracked me up with it. And 2, because I think this is a really good illustration of a philosophy switch in college football that I have told you guys about in the past. And this may be a great example to find out which one of those 2 philosophies, if either, is the better for a college football program. We're going to break that down in more detail coming up in just a few minutes from now. The International Olympic Committee has taken a big shot at FIFA over their proposed dueling World Cups. We're going to talk about that coming up in a little while. And we now know what quarterback Stephen Ross wanted Brian Flores to tamper with. We'll tell you what that story is next on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate. I don't miss any of these drills. They're showing camp drills, and I do not miss any of them.
I'm a lot farther away from them than you are, and I don't miss them either. I also don't miss having to do bear crawls at lunch because I got in trouble. I don't miss having to push the 7-man sled by myself because I got in trouble. Both times I got in trouble because I thought I was more clever than the coaches, and I was not.
I worked for a guy who ran a bar a number of years ago when I was bartending. And he said when he would hire a bartender, he would go, don't try to be lazy. Don't try to steal. Because I know every trick you can think of and every trick that you can't. And he absolutely did. He could tell you the day a bartender took money out of the register, whatever, he just knew. And that reminds me of football coaches, right? Like they have seen every way that every guy has tried to get out of drills or lay it easy on drills or whatever. They know the tricks. They've seen it.
Well, I had to do bear crawls because my mom kept scheduling my orthodontist appointments in the middle of practice.
Yeah.
And I kept telling her, please stop doing this. I'm going to get in trouble. And so I got in trouble. And it was like, well, you need to tell her to stop doing it. I was like, I am. Then the other one, I had to push the sled because when the offense was on sled, I practiced with the defense. When the defense was on sled, I practiced with the offense since I started both ways. And I thought I got away with it, and I didn't. Then I definitely played it off like I didn't do it on purpose. And they weren't buying it. That night, I had cramps so bad my legs completely locked up. And we had like shag carpet. I had to grab the carpet and pull myself into the bathroom and turn the hot water on and flip into the tub. And my mom was living across the street in my grandpa and grandma's house because they had just died, and I was living in our house by myself. Right. So it's just me screaming at the top of my lungs and no one there to help me.
You remember the monkey drill? 3 guys on the ground.
Yes.
You go like this?
I got hurt on that thing all the time.
You ready for my favorite one? Junior year is the day I quit football. It's the day I quit my junior year. We're doing the monkey drill. I got done with the drill. I felt nauseous. And I told my coach, what was his name? Coach Arthur. I said, Coach, I'm nauseous. I feel like I'm getting dizzy. And he goes, you just don't want to do the drill. I said, no, sir. I feel like I'm nauseous. But he goes, get back down there. Do it again. He made me do it a second time. Second time, though, I stood up. I got dizzy. I passed out and ran headfirst into a helium container that was in the corner of the wrestling room and I think I got a concussion. I never got it because Arthur was like, concussions aren't real. It was bad. Hour number 2 of the Rob Brown Show goes now. This is ESPN Upstate. Hello, Upstate South Carolina. Hello, America. Hello, world. Rob Lonzo and you. 844-GSP, ESPN, 844-477-3776. Preferred Home Services text line's open for you at 71307. Start your text with ESPN. We'll read them on the air. So we told you earlier about the story that is developing out of Opelika, Alabama, the Plains, home of the Auburn Tigers. Smoke started coming up last night from a variety of reporters that Brian Harsin's immediate future with the Tigers franchise is potentially over. There are rumors swirling right now that the Auburn front office was already looking for a reason to let go of the coach. Why? Because there's been a mass exodus of players and coaches out of the franchise. We have seen 20 players leave the program, either through going on or entering the transfer portal. We have seen 5 coaches so far decide that they want to be elsewhere as well. decided that they wanted to move on. Well, there have been questions about why. Why is this happening? You know, players leaving via transfer portal. Welcome to the new normal of college football. The question is, why so many? There is not another college football team in America that has had that many players decide they don't want to be a part of that program anymore. Auburn's the only one with that many guys deciding to bail. So why? Well, Lee Hunter is a former Auburn player, transferred from the Tigers to UCF earlier in the offseason. He made a post on social media that included the sentence, Lonzo, Coach Harsin has the true mindset for a winner, but has a terrible mindset as a person. The reason I chose to leave Auburn was because we got treated like we wasn't good enough and like dogs, end quote. Harsin said that any suggestion he mistreated coaches or players is, and I quote, bullboat. Okay, I don't quote. He didn't say bullboat, but he might have. He's a big fan of the show. Said any attack on my character is bullboat. None of that is who I am, end quote. According to ESPN, and there's an article from Chris Lowe and Pete Thamel, two guys that are relatively respected in the world of SEC football coverage. They wrote, and I quote, said one source to ESPN, there are some kids in the locker room who do like him. If they fire him, what are we going to do? It would set Auburn back 2 or 3 years. There have been other players, including Chandler Wooten, a team captain who is headed to the NFL, and Derek Hall, who led the Tigers last season in sacks and tackles. Chandler Wooten said on Twitter, we didn't need a best friend. We needed a coach, and that's what we have, end quote. So 20 players leave. 5 coaches leave. And I think this is a really, really good example of what college football is going to be moving forward. Because there's 2 mindsets at work here, right? Which one's right? Which one's wrong? The 2 mindsets at work right now. There's mindset number 1, which I think is an old school mindset, right? If you're here to play football, play football. It's a tough game. It's a man's game. It is a game that you have to bring discipline. You have to bring toughness. You have to bring resolve to. And if you can't take a coach getting all up in your grill because you're not doing it the right way, you won't survive. You won't survive. And then there's mindset number 2. Mindset number 2 is...
It's the SAWFT mindset.
Soft. Mindset number 2, or as Lonzo calls it, the soft mindset, is football players playing football is only a part of who they are as a person, right? They're also students, they're also workers, they're also people, they're also sons and boyfriends and whatever else. It's just a part of who they are, playing football. And playing football is not a 24-hour around-the-clock thing. It's what you do, or as Lonzo might say, it's your job as a college football player. But it's a part of your life, not your whole life. And there is no need for coaches to disrespect players. Now, where does the line into disrespect get crossed? That is up to every individual person, right? Every individual person. I got a buddy of mine who is, he's injured right now. Busted his ankle playing soccer. Shattered it. Dak Prescotted it. My buddy Andrew. He's also in a group thread of a couple of friends that I have in a social group that meets up. And the other day, I said, we're going to go to this place and do this thing if Andrew can fit it into his scooter. I mean, schedule. Because he's rolling around on one of those like little kneel-on-it scooters when your ankle's jacked. And Andrew thought it was very funny. Somebody else in the group was like, hey, man, you might have hurt his feelings when you said that. And I said, no, I don't think I did. I think he knew it was a joke. I think he knew I wasn't being disrespectful. I think he thought it was funny. And he did. He told me. But the point is, one person took that as disrespectful. One person did not. Where the line of disrespect is a question mark, right? And you got to figure that out. But this is two separate mindsets at work within a program. If these players who are saying he's too much are to believed. And I've seen people on Twitter already saying, as Lonzo did, some of these guys, they soft. Some of these guys are too soft. They're not tough enough. They got to get toughened up. And that's what Harsin does. And then there are other mindsets, other mentalities kicking in from people that are going, hey, man, football isn't all they do. Just because you're a football player doesn't mean you should be subjected to disrespect and abuse. Everybody gets to make their mind up about what's disrespect and abuse. I promise you, some of my favorite coaches of all time throughout my playing career or joke thereof, some of my favorite coaches of all time could get away saying stuff to me that I'd slap the teeth out of another human being if they said to me, because I knew they were trying to make me better, right? I knew they were trying to make me better.
Same here. Now, every time, and you've heard me do this in the office, every time I do something that is dumb, I use my last name towards myself because I hear the coaches in the back of my head. They taught me discipline. They taught me a lot of things, taught me how to be a team player. Here's the thing. You can say, it's the over-sissification. You can go the extreme one direction or the other. There's an in-between in there. There is. You don't have to be overly harsh. You don't have to be overly light with these players. But there's also a thing that most people don't believe is true. Each individual needs to be treated a different way. And sometimes it's hard to do that. What motivates one doesn't motivate the other. What makes one go, okay, coach, I'm going to do it, makes the other one go, I can't believe he treated me that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there is no way to coach and be able to reach everybody at the same time on the same level. There's no way to do that.
By the way, I just realized something, that I do something just like you, but I never really realized why. Lonzo's heard it. When I get mad at myself, I always go, damn it, Brownie. That's what I yell at myself when I screw up. And I just realized the reason I do that is because my favorite coach from middle school, Terry Webster, who coached the basketball team, he called me Brownie when I played there. And that's what he would yell at practice when we screwed up. Now, I promise you right now, Lonzo, if we found out that there was a middle school coach that was cussing, he wasn't like cussing us out, but if I screwed up, miss a free throw, damn it, Brownie. If a middle school coach was saying that now, there'd be some helicopter moms out there that had a big problem with it, right? But for me, and maybe this is my old man yells at cloud moment, I always took that as like, that was motivational for me because I did not want to hear Terry Webster say, damn it, Brownie, for any reason, right? That was for whatever reason, that was a motivational trigger for me.
I reached a point where the coach took me aside. He's like, I noticed something. If I yell at you, you won't do anything. But if I come and talk to you calmly, you're going to do it. Yeah. And here's the thing. I heard yelling so much everywhere that eventually you don't hear it anymore.
Yeah, sure.
So that's what I'm saying. Different people have to be motivated different ways. It wasn't like I didn't still get yelled at because I did and deserved it a lot of times. But you're right. The way things used to be done can't be done now because there'd be lawsuits.
So Lonzo's right in that every guy, everybody, every athlete, male, female, and in between, every athlete responds to things in different ways, right? Lonzo and I have both told you the number one way to get me and Lonzo to do something is to tell us you can't do that. You're not capable. Don't worry about doing that, Rob. You can't do it. Jack, I'm going to be watching YouTube videos all damn night. When I come in here tomorrow, I'm going to blow you away.
Yeah, my favorite thing is, Lonzo, work on doing things behind the scenes. You will never be behind a microphone.
Yeah, absolutely. So the point
is,
is,
some wish that I weren't right now, but that's just too bad.
Everybody is motivated differently in different ways. And that is why I don't know that we're in a position to be able to make a judgment call about Brian Harsin right now. But 20 players leaving and 5 coaches leaving, including an offensive coordinator who had worked there for like 2 weeks. 2 weeks this man's been in the building. He's like, yo, I'm out, dog. I can't do it. I can't be here. That's where you get into a quote. When other coaches are going, I ain't part of this, that's where I go, maybe there's something to this.
What's the quickest you ever left a job?
2 days. 2 days. It was a radio job in Niceville, Florida. Took it for 2 days. Hated it.
How could a job
They'd have fired their general manager out of state around.
How could a job be bad in Niceville? I mean, come on.
A lot of stuff bad in Niceville. By the way, real quick, the reason that I'm bringing this up is because the other rumor going around is that Brian Harsin may have been having an improper relationship with a very young woman who just graduated Boise State in 2019 that came with him to be part of his staff, his administration staff at Auburn. And there's a lot of reports that he may have been engaged in an inappropriate sexual relationship with her, which means Auburn will be able to fire him under the morals clause and not have to pay him a severance in order to do so, and use that as an excuse because of the disappointment of the Auburn football program this year. Guys, don't look at me and say, well, they were close with Bama, and make me think that I'm going to think, oh, well, that's a good enough reason to keep her around. That's the Iron Bowl. That's the rivalry game. We have seen bad Auburn teams keep up with good Bama teams, and bad Bama teams keep up with good Auburn teams. It's the Iron Bowl. You got to do more than that. How about we talk about the week before that when he came into South Carolina and got his butt whooped by the War Chickens, right? Let's talk about that game and tell me Brian Harsin was the guy. Let me get John in here real quick before we take a break. John, welcome in, big fella. How we doing? Thanks for taking a minute.
I appreciate you having me, Rob. So, I was wanting to talk about like how you discipline people in like different scenarios, right? So I was in the Army years ago. I was an NCO in the Army, and I remember having that conversation with like the old guard dudes who were like, "Oh, the Army's gotten soft." Well, has it gotten soft, or do we realize we have to treat different people, like you said earlier, with differences in them? I had dudes who I could just make do push-ups, and they would laugh at me like, "Oh, this is your punishment? Okay, whatever, cool." And they would do 300 of them, no problem. But I also had guys that the second they started doing push-ups, they were like, "I've learned my lesson." And the problem is that so many players now have so many different personalities. It's like coaches just kind of forget that, like, yes, you're a team, you're one unit, but you have to understand there are so many different people and different backgrounds coming in that it's almost impossible to treat them as that one attitude. Yeah, you can see it as getting soft, but is it really soft, or are we learning how to coach people better?
Yeah, no, I'm spot on with you. I completely agree. I tell you right now that as long as I've coached not like up through the high school level, obviously never at the college level, certainly never high level college level, but I've coached before. And the one thing a good coach does is he learns about his individual players and how to get the best out of each individual player. Because if you get the best out of each individual player, you're going to get the best out of the team as a whole. And if you get the old school hard-nosed coach, I was telling Alonzo about a guy that coached defensive ends when I played defensive end my junior in high school, John Arthur. Dude was a gruff old Marine, right? And he ran the defensive end group like a Marine Corps platoon. And he didn't get the best out of us because three of us were like dorks who left football practice and went home and read J.R.R. Tolkien books in our cars, right? Like, you're not going to get Marine discipline out of dudes who get done playing defensive end and go play Dungeons and Dragons afterwards. If you connect it, you get more out of it. And I think that the shift is people see it as soft because it's not the way it used to be, where if one person screws up, everybody runs 100 stadiums. Now there are coaches who go, that guy running stadiums doesn't do anything, doesn't click with him, doesn't change anything. And I do think there is an attitude and coaching switch. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's the problem, is that you almost have to be adaptive as a coach, as a leader. And that's the problem, is so many people think leader means that you're in absolute control of like everybody, and that like what you say goes no matter what. And to an extent it does, but you have to remember that you are showing these guys exactly what they need to be. And sometimes you need to have that soft component to you, where it's like, okay, you know what? It's practice. You screwed up. I understand. It isn't a real game, but let's get better on this, versus just treating him as if, you know, you're going to bench him after every simple mistake that he can just work on and get better at.
If you can coach a lot of things, but you can't coach heart. If that kid doesn't have heart, he doesn't have heart. He can find it eventually, but you can't coach that. But the basics, how to be an inside linebacker, you can coach that into a kid as long as you understand how he's coachable. And sometimes screaming and yelling and trying to, I guess, hurt his feelings in a way isn't always going to work for that kid. Maybe he came from that home where that was a norm for him. He's cold to that now.
Yep.
So you have to learn your players.
John, great call, bud. Appreciate you. Thank you very much for jumping in here. And I agree, right? I agree. I think there are a lot of people who, when you say coach, they get the did you watch the Junction Boys movie they made about Paul Bear Bryant at Texas A&M a few years back on ESPN? The movie called Junction Boys. And it was about Paul Bear Bryant's first few years at Texas A&M before he went to become the legend in Alabama. And they were talking about how he would bring these boys out to do two-a-days in the 117-degree Texas sun. They weren't allowed to have water, Lonzo, because water made you weak, right? Water made you weak. And there was a point in time where there was a shift to where you have to give players a water break. And there were coaches back with the mentality of, that's soft. These guys are soft. They need water when they're working out. That's soft. Well, in today's standard, that's a really stupid mindset, right? If any coach today told any player at any level, you're not allowed to have water during two-a-days, that guy would be fired on the spot for how dumb that opinion or how dumb that thought is. But at the beginning of Bear Bryant's career, that was the norm, and that was tough. And then everybody said, oh, it's soft to allow water. Now we go, it's dumb. It's football mentality shifts and changes every single year. So when a guy comes in with a 1970s football mentality, he's going to be out of place. And I wonder, I'm not saying it is, but I wonder if that's what's happening with Brian Harsin right now.
I just got to say the best tasting water is the water that comes out of a pinhole, the PVC pipe.
Connected to a garden hose,
yes.
Run to the side of the field house.
Best water you've ever tasted in your entire life.
The old water horse, man. Water, you got PVC pipe with two other pipes as the legs on both sides. They drilled holes on an alternating side about every 8 inches down the pipe, run a garden hose to it. That water comes out just as hot as the air around you.
But there's always some kid or several kids who put their mouth on the pipe.
Why? Well, the psychopaths. We had one dude, his name was Tenor. His favorite thing to do was at water horse time, he'd put his mouth on the very last hole, but then he'd blow back into it so all the water would shoot out higher, and he just drank. He thought it was like the greatest joke ever.
That's pretty funny.
High school, ladies and gentlemen. Texture says, the way it used to be brought down the Berlin Wall, the way it finds things offensive that they read on a bathroom wall. Is that like a song lyric I'm missing there? The way it used to be brought down the Berlin Wall, the way it is find things offensive that they read on a bathroom wall.
What they're saying
like
is,
your mom's phone number. Ah! Sorry, I was immature.
I think we need to go to break now.
That was immature. I take it back. I only do that because I know who that texter is, and they'll find that funny. I think, maybe. Texter said about the young lady. Texter says, well, at least he hasn't wrecked his motorcycle with her on it. ... Yet. Yes, the next head coach of the Auburn Tigers, ladies and gentlemen, Bobby Petrino. Somebody said last night, hey, Auburn, Urban Meyer's available. Texas says, I think the players are wanting to have it both ways here. The amenities, perks, stipends, and money the school has to invest to attract players creates a cutthroat environment for these coaches who must win. They can't ask for more balance than what's expected of them and locker rooms with $1 million hot tubs, barbershops, and recording studios. Oh, no. You're wrong. Players don't demand those things. Players are provided those things, right? Players don't demand those things. Players haven't been saying, we're not going to come play for schools that don't have hot tubs. The schools went, we're going to lose these recruits to other schools that do offer them hot tubs. Don't try to penalize players because coaches and schools have decided to throw millions of dollars worth of amenities of them to come there. If your school would like to recruit players without building a multi-million-dollar practice facility, be my guest. Have at it. Let me know how that goes for you. That's how college football has made itself. Don't put that on the players. That's like, yeah, they get to enjoy those things, but ain't there because of them. That texture says, well done, respect. Salute, friend. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show, ESPN Upstate.
Chelsea Messenger helping you beat the books with BetQL. Figuring out who will win the Pro Bowl is anyone's guess, but there's more than one way to bet the game this weekend. Running back unders are a safe bet. In the last Pro Bowl, the NFC ran the ball 4 times. Dalvin Cook got 3 of those carries. The AFC only has 1 running back carry the ball more than 4 times. Blitzing is illegal and no nickel or dime packages are allowed, so teams opted to just air it out.
Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would
What's that?
stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend
Commenting on the spot.
Oh, the run. Yeah.
Emergency or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you 24/7 with supplies and solutions for every industry and access to product specialists ready to help. Call, click Grainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
There's nothing worse than coming home from a cold day to find out that your heater isn't working. When this happens, you need an HVAC company you can trust. A company like Priority Heating and Air. Their HVAC specialist will give your system a thorough checkup. And if you need a new unit, Priority Heating and Air is a proud distributor of the Coleman line of HVAC systems. To keep your family or business warm this winter, and give Priority Heating and Air a call today at 591-1847 or online at PriorityHeatingandAirHVAC.com.
So if we meet our quota early, we're done, right?
You should put in 50 today and be done for 2 weeks. What was it, 5 a week? So 1 a day? Is that what it said?
I don't read those emails thoroughly.
Charges over 19% APR, but with LightStream, you can get a fixed rate as low as 4.98% APR with auto pay and excellent credit.
I do take it as a competition that we will win.
I have no doubt. I think we were already winning. I think that's why the email got sent.
Why are we going to make it worse?
Yay. Shad Khan put out a statement about the hiring of Doug Peterson that is 1,063 words long.
Did he just like erase Urban Meyer's name and then put Peterson's name in there? Although, unlike Urban Meyer, Peterson's actually won in the NFL. So, I mean,
Won a Super Bowl. So my friends are in Iceland right now, in Reykjavik. And
ooh, are you listening to Icelandic jazz? You got to ask them.
I'm going to tell her to bring us back an Icelandic jazz CD. Just find the #1 Icelandic jazz artist and bring it back. She's not doing that today. Today they are at the Icelandic Philological Museum, as in phalluses. It's an entire museum dedicated to penises. Literally, it's a museum full of penises.
You're welcome, stream.
Do I talk about that on air? Would I just learn to exist in Iceland? Is that appropriate or not? I don't know.
It's a scatological reference. No, it's not scatological, but it's anatomical for sure.
I'm saying it. I don't care. If there's a come see me between this and the your mom bomb I dropped on a texter in the first segment.
Oh no, that's lightweight compared to this. I mean, depending on where you go with this.
I've got a couple of friends of me and the lady friend are visiting Iceland right now. They're in Reykjavik, Iceland. And I just learned that in Reykjavik, Iceland, there is, and I'm literally looking at it right now. Actually, I'm looking, Zoe, at the.
I don't want to see it. I don't.
No, it's not.
Okay.
It's
all right.
not one of them.
All right.
It is the certificate for the Guinness World Record for the world's largest exposition of phalluses. There is an Icelandic phallological museum.
So it's not fallacies. It's okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Phalluses.
Yeah. There's a difference.
It is a museum in Reykjavik, Iceland, that is dedicated to phalluses. And
Okay, I think you could stop right there, and people could just look it up in case they don't know what that is exactly, and it could do research. We'll call it homework.
I could.
You can. I don't want them to look.
Or I could tell you all about it. The Icelandic Phallological Museum is a museum that contains a collection of over 280 specimens of phalluses that you apparently can go visit. They have phalluses from hundreds of different species of animal on display. They have notable phalluses from throughout history that are on display. So if you're looking for a great place to visit, ladies and gentlemen, you know, airline prices are shafting you right now, and you want to go take a visit somewhere, you can go to Reykjavik, Iceland, and visit the Icelandic Phallological Museum and spend a day. I can't make any more jokes because I've gotten to the point where I realize every joke I make after this is over the top.
Yeah, I was just curious. Does Wilt Chamberlain have his own wing?
Texas says, if it's not called the Phallus Palace, they're doing it wrong.
And for anyone looking on stream, yes, I am blushing.
I shouldn't share their website on stream.
This is, I don't know.
They actually have, Lonzo, a photo gallery where you can see some of their exhibits.
No, don't share that on stream, please.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I would prefer, I mean, it's your show, your name's on it, but I would prefer that you didn't do that.
They have, for instance, this one's not graphic, but a depiction of stone art. I gotta say, a trip to the Icelandic Phallological Museum would be hard to beat, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it?
I don't want to answer the phone.
That's what my friends have decided to go to Reykjavik, Iceland and do, ladies and gentlemen, the Icelandic Phallological Museum. All right. Now that I'm working on getting myself canceled, we got to run to a break because when we come back, we are going to talk to someone who has something very exciting where you, ladies and gentlemen, may be able to win yourself an opportunity to go play a round of golf at one of, I was going to say America's premier golf courses, but it's really one of the world's premier golf courses, and do it for a good cause. And I'll tell you that when we come back here in just a minute. My name is Rob Brown. Lonzo's at the helm. We're back after this if my boss doesn't fire me on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
Well, if he didn't hear it now, he's going to hear it multiple times.
Ask and ye shall receive, eh?
Do you know who that is, right?
Michael, yeah.
Yes. Okay. All right.
I told him we'd do like 7 minutes, so we'll keep it short.
It looks a little different for everyone. For some, it's mom and dad. For others, roommates who feel like family. And for others, it's your significant other, their golfing buddies, your children, a high school soccer team starting lineup, and a look they're taking you up on the offer to stay for dinner, really testing the limits of that phrase, the more the merrier. Doesn't matter the income. Geico makes it easy to bundle and save on home and health insurance. Easier than making 3 frozen pizzas and assorted frozen veggies into a cohesive meal.
I love my hardwood floors, but I wasn't sure how to take care of them. Carrying around the bucket was such a hassle. And even worse, my string mop left streaks and haze behind. Then I grabbed Swiffer Wet Jet Wood, the all-in-one tool that made...
Oh, you were so hot this week.
That was in there, by the way. You saw that?
Yep.
That was in. So flustered from the last segment. Because you know what you probably have unleashed. Maybe you didn't. Maybe the text line is not doing what I think it would normally do.
Oh, no, it is.
Okay.
It is. Like the text that says they really discourage cutting in line unless you're Jewish.
Dude.
Oh, man.
The host that comes on after us would not be able to function for an hour after that.
I am going to reset. Talking golf organization and charity now. Because that's how you win awards. Boom.
Boom. QC Connects in the next break.
Say that one again. Sorry, I blanked out because I was looking at the thing we're about
Of
to
course.
talk about.
Okay. QC Connects in the next break. It's a good question, Adam. I'm sure that Rob could answer that question.
Is the truth. Oh, man. We shift gears entirely now here on the Rob Brown Show, NDSPN Upstate. Want to welcome into the radio broadcast a friend of the show, friend of mine off the air and on, a young man I've had the pleasure of working with at a couple of different events over the last couple of years and look forward to doing many more times. You guys know I'm a big golf guy, and one of my favorite organizations, I had the privilege of working with the First Tee of the Emerald Coast when I was broadcasting down in Destin. Now I do the same with the First Tee of the Upstate here in Greenville, Spartanburg. It is a phenomenal organization that aims to teach young kids life lessons through golf, up to and including and especially those that maybe would not have access to the game without the help of the First Tee of the Upstate. Mr. Michael Pius is the executive director of the First Tee of the Upstate and joins us here on the show. Michael, my man, great to have you back, big fella.
Hey, Rob. Thanks again for having me on. Pumped to be on. Talk about not going to Iceland to play golf, but going to Pebble Beach. I mean, Iceland's great in the summer. You can play 24/7 pretty much, late June, but no one wants to go there right now. Everyone's thinking about Pebble Beach because it's the Pebble Beach Pro-Am, which is a blast to watch on TV. Seeing all the celebrities and all that, playing golf at Pebble Beach, but then get pumped up and buy a ticket or maybe 5 to our golf trip raffle, and support the First Tee. So yeah, I mean, I think we've talked a little bit about this in the past, but we've got an amazing package this year for your listeners to help support the First Tee, and then also go out and have like a once in a lifetime trip out to California. So yeah, we're the tickets are selling like crazy. We've got 3 rounds of golf. We got Pebble, we got Spyglass, and then we're adding this year TPC Harding Park in San Francisco. 2-night stay at the lodge at Pebble, so you literally roll out of bed and you're right there on the First Tee at Pebble Beach. We've got a gift certificate to the Sardine Factory, which is a really cool restaurant there on the peninsula, and $2,000 in air transportation to get out there too. So for your foursome, and tickets are only $100. They're selling like crazy. We're only going to sell 400. So this is the time for your listeners to jump on our website and purchase some tickets before they're all sold out.
Yes, and you can go to firstteeupstate.org to do it. So $100, and you have an opportunity to win 3 rounds of golf for a foursome at Pebble Beach, Spyglass, and TPC Harding. 2 nights, including hotel accommodations at the Lodge at Pebble Beach, a gift certificate to the Sardine Factory, and a $2,000 air transportation voucher to get you there. But the coolest thing about this, aside from the fact that TPC, I've told this story before, Michael. My dad, many moons ago, took my mom to California, and they went to Pebble Beach to go eat at the restaurant. My dad wasn't going to play, but he wanted to go see it. So anyway, they got there and they got to walk out onto the first tee. And my dad just started kind of pushing my mom around a little bit. My mom said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "I'm playing around at Pebble Beach." So now, so the rest of his life, he told everybody he played around at Pebble Beach. But nice. You will get the opportunity to actually play space round at Pebble Beach. And on top of that, Michael, the cool thing about it is that you are helping the First Tee of the Upstate accomplish its mission here in the area at the same time.
Yeah. So this week, this is kind of perfect timing to be on the air because we just opened up our registration for our spring programming. So for those listeners that might not know or haven't heard me on the air before, so we're a youth development program that teaches kids life skills through the game of golf. So we're teaching honesty and integrity and sportsmanship. We're teaching them interpersonal skills, shaking hands, looking someone in the eye, having a conversation with someone, goal setting, resiliency skills. These are all skills that will carry on not only to make them a great golfer, but make them a great person on and off the golf course. So we do that at three programming offerings. We do it in the elementary schools. So we're in every elementary school in Cherokee County, Spartanburg County, all but 6 in Greenville County. And we're in all 11 elementary schools in District 5 in Anderson County. We see over 60,000 kids in that program each year. And then we also do after-school programming with Boys and Girls Clubs and YMCAs, rec centers. And then where we see the largest impact with our program is obviously on the golf course. So that's at like Legacy Pines and Threes Greenville, Woodfin Ridge, Cherokee National, Cherokee Valley. I could spend a segment talking about all the great locations that we're at. But this is perfect timing if your listeners have some kids, ages 5 to 18 that are interested in picking up the golf club, maybe for the first time, or they've played golf and they want to take their golf skills to the next level. What I consider First Tee is really kind of sports psychology for kids. So the kids have been playing golf for a while. We're teaching them skills of how to deal with challenging situations out on the golf course. Breathing techniques and tools that they can take with them on the golf course, but then also into the math class at school, how to deal with, a challenging question that's on a quiz, things that can translate to life too. So that's the beauty, and that's kind of the secret sauce of our program. And the best way to register is go on our website, firstteeupstate.org/register. You can click on and see all the class offerings that we have, all the way from, again, Anderson, all the way to Gaffney and everywhere in between. And then those listeners, again, if you're just, clicking on and you want to go and play Pebble Beach and support our efforts to continue to grow our program, they can get on there at firstteeupstate.org/2022 golf trip. That's the quickest way to get your ticket.
Mr. Michael Pius, the executive director of the First Tee of the Upstate, joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. Again, the 2022 Upstate Golf Trip Raffle is available now. Go to the First Tee of the Upstate's website at firstteeupstate.com. Tickets are $100, include 3 rounds of golf for 4 golfers at Pebble Beach, Spyglass, and TPC Harding. 2 nights, including hotel accommodations at the Lodge at Pebble Beach, a gift certificate to the Sardine Factory restaurant, and $2,000 of air transportation. And most importantly of all, you are helping the First Tee of the Upstate in an incredible mission and the incredible work they do here around the Upstate. Michael, my man, it's great to have you back on the show, buddy. I look forward to getting the chance to seeing you out there again. And good luck to everybody who enters, because somebody should take us golfing with them if they win, is all I'm saying, Michael.
I love it. Yeah, I'll be a fourth. I'm a good travel buddy, and I'm sure you'd have a blast there.
I'll carry the bags. I will. If you bring me and you win, I will caddy for you while I play. I'm that good of a friend.
Love it. Love it.
Michael Pius, Executive Director of the First Tee of the Upstate. Michael, I appreciate everything you do for the community, buddy, and thanks for coming on.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Always. That is Michael Pius, Executive Director of the First Tee of the Upstate. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll put a bow on hour number 2. Hour number 3 is going to get weird. Maybe. I don't know. We did talk about the Icelandic Phallological Museum.
We already went to the Iceland Museum. Yeah, we're not going to get any weirder than that, I don't think.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I may have set the bar too high in the middle of the show, you know? We'll see. I might try. The Ryan Brown Show's on your radio. It's ESPN Upstate.
QC.
take too much time, then try Babbel. In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel teaches you conversations that you will actually use. With 14 languages and lesson topics like travel, business, relationships, and more, you'll learn what matters most to you. Babbel. Language for life. Learn a new language with ease. Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's BABBEL.com.
This feature sponsored by Indeed. Finding your next great hire could leave you finding yourself pressed for time. That's why Indeed has a built-in interview platform that makes it easy for you to schedule and conduct video interviews right on our site. Visit Indeed.com/credit. Restrictions may apply. Guys and possibilities be verified. Take my coffee. Means that for everyone. It's been a tough year, and you sure don't need to get hit with a big unexpected bill. Like, what if your car breaks down right now? How are you paying the bill? If it's your transmission, that's over $3,000. Your engine up to $6,000. Even minor repairs.
I don't know how one would head coach a wrestling organization, but I'm in to see. I would watch it. I bet Sean Payton could cut a promo.
Well, I mean, Arn Anderson technically is
right.
coaching.
Yeah, but they said the head coach of Impact, just the whole thing, not a stable, the whole thing.
You just give them a desk and have wrestlers come in,
just do comedy
here and
segments.
there. Yeah, maybe have them in the locker room or in the gym, coaching them up that way. I don't know. Never really. I mean, I've watched it a little bit, but each time I've watched Impact, they didn't have crowds, so I haven't watched it lately, and it's kind of too scripted to that point. But I did the one thing I watched Don Callis get fired, which was interesting. That dude is good no matter what. So,
Twitter has something I just saw for the first time: a downvote button. I have the heart and a downvote button now on Twitter.
Yeah, I don't see that.
I literally just refreshed my screen and it showed up for the first time.
Yeah, I still don't see it. Maybe did you have to click on an individual tweet in order for it to show up?
It just showed up in my my notification screen. All right, so in reference to the Icelandic Phallological Museum, I have another question for you. I'm making Alonzo nervous today.
I thought we were done with that.
We are not. Because and this, honestly, this is actually a genuine question for you, Zoe. Well, no, not for Alonzo. It's a genuine question to our listeners. The rumor right now going around is that the reason that Brian Harsin for Auburn might be in trouble, the rumor is because he may have been caught having an affair with a staffer there at Auburn. A young woman who graduated Boise State in 2019. Brian Harsin was the head coach there at the time and joined his staff, traveled down to Auburn, joined the staff at AU. Brian Harsin is making $5.25 million a year on average during his salary. My question would be to you, the listener, ladies and gentlemen, all invited to answer this question. For $5.25 million, would you take a vow of celibacy for the length of that contract? If I offered you $5.25 million to remain celibate, how many years would you go collecting money but not loving?
What if you're married? I mean, it still applies.
In general, right? Because the whole premise here, Brian Harsin is married, by the way. His wife's a very pretty lady. Not that that is the defining feature of any relationship, but you get the point. My question is, if I offered you $5.25 million per year to remain celibate, A, would you take it? And B, how many years would you remain celibate for $5.25 million a year? Lonzo, how long would you remain celibate for $5.25 million years?
Oh, I could do it. You said 5.2 million years.
$5 million per year. How many years?
I could do the entire thing. The question is, though, if you put that in someone's contract, are you trying to set them up to see if they're going to fail?
No, I'm sorry, like genuinely. No, I'm offering like a genuine offer. I'm not doing this because I want to see if you can or can. If
you're paying someone that
could you?
If you're paying, I was going to say, if you're paying someone, if that contract was an actual contract and you're paying someone that kind of money, then how can you be sure unless they're constantly being surveyed or watched? Surveilled. That's it.
That's the one.
Yeah, I try to go above mine. I'll stay back where I am.
Let's just say.
But if I'm doing it, I'm sending in some ringers, so to speak, to try to see if they're going to stick to it.
I got to tell you, $5.25 million a year, $5.25 million per year to remain celibate. Not a tough decision. Not a tough decision. 1 year you're retired, right? Like 1 year you're done working for the rest of your life. Everything after that you're doing for fun. You stick $4 million in the bank, you never work another day in your life. You take $1 million out of it to go play, $4 million for the rest of your life, and after 365 days, you got $1 million to blow and $4 million in the bank to grow on. You're not going to have to worry about remaining celibate long after that.
Yeah, but if you go the full 5 years, when you're done on, when that 5th year is done, you can go have fun and be rich beyond your wildest dreams.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Oh, yeah. $5.25 million a year to remain celibate is a no-brainer. Is a no-brainer. Texter says, two different texts. Texter 1 says, I'm married and I could probably still cash that check. Another texter says, I'm married and I'm owed back pay. Texas says, can I take that contract in like rural Maine, or does it have to be big college like Auburn? I'm saying nothing changes about your life right now, right? Whether you're married, single, you're a late night bar cruiser like me, right? You got a lady that lives with you. You got a fella that lives with you. I'll tell you right now, if the significant other came to me and said, I've taken a 1-year vow of celibacy, but on December 31st, I'm cashing a check for $5.25 million, I'd encourage that decision. How long could you go? How many years? Not could you. How long would you go in a vow of celibacy for $5.25 million, which is what Brian Harsin has given up, if the rumors are true. Brian Harsin has given up $5.25 million a year because he could not sleep with a girl who graduated college in 2019. That's the reports. Back after this, for the third, the final, the best, the money hour of the Rob Brown Show. It's ESPN Upstate. I'm married and I'm owed back pay.
Gee, if this show had a theme today, I wonder what it would be.
AutomotiveMap.com presents your ESPN Upstate Sports Center updates powered by The Score. Bad news for Clemson basketball. Senior forward Hunter Tyson has suffered a broken clavicle, and his return to the team completely up in the air. He's 4th on the team in scoring at 10 points per game.
By the way, I don't have that button, so I mean, you were chosen, I suppose, to have the down button. I thought I heard something about them experimenting with that, but I didn't think they actually had done that yet. I think you should experiment. I think you should go find a tweet from the person that comes on after us.
Yeah.
And hit the down button and see if it does anything.
It looks like I can only downvote. It looks like I can only downvote tweets sent at me. Like if you at me, I can downvote it.
Oh, okay.
But I can't just like go down my timeline and downvote stuff.
He's got a leather jacket motorcycle. That's exactly who she wants to date. When will you learn? Here's what you need to do. You need about 1,000 nerdy white Ned Flanders looking dudes to jump right up front with you and do the Tiger Call. And they'll automatically think this ain't cool anymore. If the dude in the white new
All right, I just tweeted something at you.
A random pop-up wrestling match in a shopping mall. And my dude is coming off the second story of the shopping mall gallery.
That dude looks like he's in high school. Yeah, you needed to do the sign there.
That's actually solid.
That's probably the same distance as the top of like one of the top, like Hell in a Cell.
I would say that was KO's jump off the
Yeah.
WrestleMania sign.
Anyway, I just tweeted at you. Down.
You want me to download?
Yeah, so we can see what happens with it.
No, it didn't show up for your tweet. It's there for that one. It's there for that one. It's there for that one. It's not there from that one. That's weird.
This is weird. You have a Prisma in the next break.
The Rob Brown Show rolls on. This is the third, the final, the best, the money hour of the entire week. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Rob Brown. He's the great one, Lonzo. Appreciate you hanging out with us. 844-GSP-ESPN, 844-477-3776. One segment on the Flores lawsuit. I've kept it out of our mix today, but one segment on it, because there have been some voices added into the conversation. One of them is a guy that I think is probably one of the most respected voices in the National Football League, Tony Dungy. Dungy, who of course has a Super Bowl ring to show for his career, I'm pretty sure first ballot Hall of Famer. Tony Dungy is one of the most respected guys that covers the NFL, both as a coach and as a media guy. Tony Dungy is a man of great faith. Tony Dungy is a man who has, as far as I'm aware of, never gotten caught up in any scandals, never had any situations flare up around him that have made us question if he is the real deal. For all intents and purposes, Tony Dungy is one of the most respectable guys in the National Football League. A guy who practices what he preaches, right? For a lot of people across the league who have been very preachy and then get caught doing terrible stuff. Not Tony Dungy. I think Tony Dungy, as it goes, both as a coach, as a media member, and as just a dude, is one of the most respected guys that covers the league. Am I off base here, Lonzo?
As far as I can remember, I don't remember him ever being caught up in anything. And yes, all the things that you said about him, I believe are absolutely true.
Yep. Great. Seems to be a great human being. Again, we never truly know a guy, but as far as we can tell, Tony Dungy seems to be a guy that lives the way that he asks others to live. I respect that. Tony Dungy was on a podcast yesterday and was asked about his opinion on the Brian Flores lawsuit. And my question to you is, Tony Dungy, who, and I could be wrong on this, I don't recall Tony Dungy having weighed in at any point on the potential racial bias in head coaching searches across the NFL in years. I'm not saying he hasn't. I'm saying it's never come across my ears that I can recall off the top of my head. Tony Dungy, again, one of the most respected guys to have ever done it and worn a visor in the NFL, was on a podcast and was asked point blank what the case is, what he thinks, what his opinion is. And here in clip 2 is what Tony Dungy had to say on that podcast.
Well, I think the NFL, we have to realize that we have a problem. And this could be just the tip of the iceberg. You have frustrated employees, and rather than just ignore it and say, oh, well, Brian Flores, he's just did sour grapes, look at it and say, what is the issue? What is the problem? What is he talking about? And hopefully do something about it before more and more people come forward and express that. I'm actually right now talking to you from Cincinnati. We're here for NBC. We're interviewing their players and coaches for our Super Bowl show.
Sure.
And I'm there with Zach Taylor, and we're talking, and he was 2 wins his first year and 4 wins his second year. So he won 6 games in his first 2 years, and his owner stood behind him and said, we've got a plan. We know what we're doing. This is our guy. We're sticking with him. And their third year, they're in the Super Bowl. Well, Brian Flores had a 7-game winning streak this year. He won more in 7 weeks than Zach Taylor won in 2 years.
Correct.
What is the difference? Is it all racism? I'm not going to say that, but standing behind a guy, sticking with him and saying, we've got a plan. And so that's what we've got to do. We've got to do a better job all the way around the hiring. We've had 3 hiring cycles now, 1 black coach in the last 3 hiring cycles. That's almost hard to fathom in this day and age of professional football that could happen. 17 jobs and 1 African American. So we can sit there and say, well, it's a coincidence or the best person gets the job. We've got to look at it and face that we do have some issues, and we got to deal with them before this really explodes into something ugly. And you see Jim Caldwell, who's out there and available and not hired, and then you see some of the young assistants and older assistants. Leslie Frazier was a head coach in Minnesota, took a team to the playoffs, had the number 1 defense in the NFL this year. To see these guys just go through cycle after cycle and not get hired, there's got to be something wrong.
So there's Tony Dungy. Again, a guy that I think for the most part has stayed out of that discussion as a former African-American head coach, one of the most successful, frankly. But he's saying, I'm not going to say it's racism, but I'm not going to say that, right? Which is what I said earlier in the week. I think Tony Dungy and I are pretty much on the same line here. The numbers say that there is something that is preventing African Americans from getting head coaching jobs in the NFL. Of the last 32 head coaching jobs that have been turned over, 3 of them have gone to African American men, and all 3 of them have since been fired. 1 of them after 1 year, 1 of them after just 2 years. And he's pointing out there that, hey, Zach Taylor is taking the Cincinnati Bengals to the Super Bowl. He didn't win 7 combined games the last 2 years. Kept his job, is in the Super Bowl. Brian Flores won 7 games in 7 weeks this year, and in his 2nd year, and has been fired for that. Now, the one thing I would say in that, the counter argument there is, of course, every team's going to run their team differently, right? Every team's going to make the decision about why they do and don't keep a guy on board. And maybe Stephen Ross would handle it. If Zach Taylor and Brian Flores had taken the opposite jobs, right? If Brian Flores was in Cincinnati and Zach Taylor was in Miami, maybe Stephen Ross would have fired Zach Taylor if he had the same results as Brian Flores. And maybe the Cincinnati Bengals would have retained Brian Flores if he had the same results as Zach Taylor did in Cincinnati, which were better in 2 years in Miami than Taylor's were in Cincinnati over the same 2 years. Well, actually, a year delay, but you get the point. I don't know. Sure, every team has different practices, but Tony Dungy's got a point, right? I found out that, because I read through a chunk of the lawsuit that Brian Flores has submitted to the district court in New York. What is it? South District Court or something. Anyway, in the lawsuit, he specifically named former Arizona Cardinals head coach Steve Wilks' 1-year stint with the team. He mentioned it in the lawsuit by name. And he said, did Brian Flores and his attorneys, that Arizona's firing of Wilks is a, quote, notable example of discriminatory conduct. And his argument there was that Wilks, in 1 year, 2018, as the head coach of the Cardinals, went 3-13. And he was let go after that 1 season of 3-13. Arizona finished the season dead last in every offensive category, including total offense and points scored per game. On the defensive side, they were really bad too. The Cardinals gave up the most rushing yards per game at over 154 and allowed 26.6 points per contest, the 7th highest mark in the league. The lawsuit submitted by Brian Flores says, quote, in his first season, and he was not given any time to develop the team or culture, and he was stuck with numerous burdens not of his own making. He had a rookie quarterback in Josh Rosen, the 9th pick. The team GM, Steve Keim, was suspended for 5 weeks following a DUI during training camp, and the Cardinals had numerous injuries to key players. Mr. Keim, a white GM, kept his job, but Mr. Wilks was fired. The lawsuit adds that despite Wilkes' replacement and Cliff Kingsbury going 5-10 with number 1 overall pick Kyler Murray in his first season, the former Texas Tech coach was, quote, given more time to improve, end quote. Now, since then, Cliff Kingsbury started 5-10, but the coach has seen steady improvement, clinched the team's first playoff berth since 2015 this past season. So he's making the argument that you had a black coach go 3-13. He was bad in every statistic, offensively and defensively across the board, and you fired him. You let the GM who built the team, right? Because that team was built, for the most part, by the time that Wilkes got there. So he's saying you got a GM who built the team. Steve Wilkes shows up, has 1 year with a rookie quarterback who's not very good in Josh Rosen, a ton of injuries that season, which I think, if I recall, that was the year that Larry Fitzgerald missed like 12 games or something like that. I don't remember off the top of my head, but he was banged up, as were the players. Saying you gave that guy 1 year with a freshman quarterback, a rookie quarterback, and a bad roster, and then you fired him, but you kept the GM who built the roster. The next year, you hired Cliff Kingsbury, babyface coach out of college, gave him the reins. He went 5-10. With a better rookie quarterback, but a rookie quarterback nonetheless in Kyler Murray. He went 5-10. You did not fire him. You decided he was worth more time. Now, what I would really love to see, although we're never going to see it, I'd really love for NFL teams, if they can, to start answering these challenges. And I would love for them to start answering the challenges with documented, verifiable discussions about what happened, right? I would like to know what went into the decision to fire Steve Wilkes at the end of his 1 year, but retain Cliff Kingsbury at the end of his, right? Because they're different people. There may have been something about Steve Wilkes that the owner or the GM or whoever said, this guy ain't it. That's a genuine reason, a real reason. And there may very well be a good, legitimate reason that after Cliff Kingsbury's first year, they went, Cliff's our guy. We're going to give him time to improve. But I think to some degree, Brian Flores has a point in saying, hey, look, black coach, 3-13, rookie quarterback. You fired him after 1 year. White coach, 5-10, or 5-11? 5-10. 1 year, rookie. He got to keep his job, and the GM got to keep his job both times. Why?
I was curious about that. So I went back into the history of just the Arizona Cardinals. Let's go back to Dennis Green. 6-10, 5-11, 5-11, 8-8. So can you still say that the other guy was let go because of racism when you kept a black coach for that many years and he didn't win any of those years?
And that's a very valid addition to the argument.
And I think you can go back through that in any on any team and through the history of the thing. I think, sometimes people get fired because they're not good at their job, or like what you said, they're not getting along with the people there or the players or whatever. Sometimes it has nothing to do, and sometimes there might be some racism in there, but for the most part, I think people know the society that we're living in. And if there's any hint or possibility that this is going to come out and look that way, they're going to make sure they do everything to make sure it won't. Maybe he just got fired as far as Arizona goes. Maybe he got fired because Cliff Kingsbury they thought was a better coach and they wanted to bring him in. And because Cliff Kingsbury is good with young quarterbacks.
Sure, it's very possible. It's very possible. Is it also possible? I'm not saying it is. I'm asking the question. Very bold question mark then. Is it possible that there was discriminatory practice in the reason that Steve Wilkes was let go?
Yeah, it's possible.
Sure.
It's possible. It absolutely is possible.
Sure. That's exactly my point, right? My point is that those are both possible.
But what you're doing when you do this, in my opinion, you make it harder for black coaches to be hired, because then the organization that hires them, they have to worry about, when we let them go, are they going to bring this up and say that we're letting them go for that reason?
I don't think that I recall anybody, and I could be wrong. This is just my experience, right? I don't recall there being a lot of blow up about discrimination when Denny Green was let go by the Cardinals. I don't recall.
Right, and I just said, what, 5 years?
No,
that
yeah,
he was there?
absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm agreeing with you. I don't recall anybody saying that there was discrimination and Denny Green getting fired from Arizona. I don't remember anybody claiming discrimination when Hugh Jackson was let go by the Browns. What was he, 1-31?
Yeah.
Right?
How do you make it that many seasons?
Yeah, I don't remember anybody calling discrimination on that. Romeo Crennel, when he was let go the last time, I don't remember anybody claiming that there was discrimination there.
And he's had plenty of jobs too.
Yeah.
So
And I guess that's kind of my point is people, they're all, people are always calling the race card. I don't think so. But I think having watched the Miami Dolphins, I would like to know, right, like genuinely why Brian Flores was fired. And
my first thought was not racism. My first thought is something else is going on, because it's usually one of those things. A lot of cases, it's either something major is going on or they have an idea that they want somebody else and they have specifically a person.
Sure. And listen, I'm going to go ahead and say,
I mean, no matter what color you are available and you can get him, you're probably letting go of the coach that you have.
I agree. And that's not discrimination. That's picking up somebody who's good at the job. But my question would be, Cliff Kingsbury's not Bill Belichick, right? Whoever replaces Brian Flores isn't Bill Belichick. There's plenty of
unless they're Bill Belichick.
Unless it's Bill Belichick. Yeah. And he's like, hey, Brady, what do you say we do one more down in Miami, eh? The thing that I think from this side of the conversation that I would want people to understand is that discrimination and racism, those who discriminate based on race, those who are racist, most of the time, they're really good at hiding it, right? Because that's not, so you can't just go out on the street and scream stuff that's racist and not expect to catch a right hook.
Right. Well, there are some streets you could definitely do it,
Absolutely.
but yeah.
Absolutely. You can't go out and run a business that's openly racist and succeed in this. You can't do it. Well, I mean, I guess you can, and again, in some places, but
yeah, in other countries you probably could.
Absolutely. People who are racist and discriminate based on it are really good at hiding it, really good at covering it up, because you have to be. It's the only way to get ahead and believe what you believe in that case. Brian Flores is saying, look, I have questions. Brian Flores is saying there are discriminatory practices, and I do not think it's unfair to ask two questions. Number one, is that a genuine possibility? And I think the answer to that is yes, right? It is absolutely a genuine possibility. I'll tell you right now, I don't think Brian Flores got fired because he's black. I think Brian Flores got fired because Stephen Ross was asking him to do things that would have gotten him in trouble, and he said no, which is why was the first thing we heard after Brian Flores got fired. Well, him and the chemistry between him and the ownership wasn't good. Well, if what Brian Flores is saying is true, now we know right? Stephen Ross is the bad guy. Not because he's racist, but because he was asking Brian Flores to break big-time NFL rules. By the way, the quarterback that he asked Brian Flores to tamper with, remember that being one of Brian Flores' big claims? Turns out, Lonzo, it was Tom Brady. And the timeline adds up because it was when Brady was talking about leaving New England, but before he was contractually allowed to sign with a new team. That, according to Flores' timeline, is when Ross asked him to meet Brady not once but twice, and Flores said no both times, and then he gets fired down the line, right? So I acknowledge that there is that it is a genuine possibility that there is racial discrimination in the hiring of head coaches. And I think the numbers of them, or shall I say lack thereof, right? The lack thereof is evidence that it's a possibility. I'm not saying it's the reason. I'm saying it's a possibility. And it's not unfair to ask the question, while also leaving a spot on the table for those owners, those teams, other fans to go, well, this is also a genuine possibility. And then go, okay, yes, it is. Yes, it is. Is it possible that they just truly believe Cliff Kingsbury was a better head coach than Steve Wilkes after a 3-13 year? Of course it is. Of course it is. But because that's a possibility, does not mean we dismiss Brian Flores' possibility, because it is also equally possible, in my opinion. Let's take a break. When we come back, it's Fanboy Friday, ladies and gentlemen. Lonzo and I going to talk about all the nerdy stuff on the air that we usually talk about off the air. We've got Peacemaker. We got Book of Boba Fett. We've got, what's the other one? We had one more, didn't we? I don't know. We got stuff. We got stuff to talk about when we come back on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
Charisma.
Tell you about our friends at Prisma Health. Ladies and gentlemen, you know, we're a sports station. Do you know why? Because we all the entertainment and pop culture stuff that we've been saving up all week long, and there is no shortage of it taking place right now. The Peacemaker series running on HBO, which I have not gotten around to yet, but I will on Sunday. The Book of Boba Fett is on Disney Plus. On Amazon Prime, we've got The Legend of Vox Machina, if you're into the super nerdy stuff like me. And I have seen a lot. There's been a lot of actions, though, and this is the other thing I wanted to talk about. We have seen over the last couple of weeks a number of very, very high-profile video game studios that have been snapped up by Microsoft and by PlayStation and have folded into those big companies. I believe Blizzard was one of them not too long ago. There was another one earlier this week. I forgot because they don't make games that I play, but they do make a lot of very popular games. My question is going to be here, Zoe. When you start seeing Microsoft and PlayStation and basically the console companies start to own the studios that put out games for their two consoles, I have a big concern about it. And my concern about it is that effectively they start managing the studios into creating games that they want instead of allowing the studios to build great games. They start custom tailoring the way that they want them to be played on their platforms across their consoles. And I worry if we get to the point where there's fewer and fewer major but independent video game studios, we're really going to kind of start to see things get funneled down into, we got 2 or 3 genres of games, and all the games that are first person shooters on Xbox feel very similar to each other. All the fantasy games feel very similar to each other. I just get concerned that if the console owners also own the studios, we might get to a point where a lot of the variety of games we've gotten over the past decade goes away.
That is definitely a possibility. I'm not that worried about it, though, because if you look at Xbox Game Pass, for example, there are a ton of games on there that I will never play. And same with you, probably. And a lot of those are independent games made by independent companies, by smaller companies. The thing with those smaller companies being bought by Xbox or PlayStation is now they have financial backing that they didn't have before, and maybe they have obviously they have better resources and they're able to get things done in a more timely fashion. They don't have to worry about getting 3/4 of the way through the game and worry about maybe their lights being shut out or something because their product's not done yet, because they have financial backing. The other cool part about it from a consumer standpoint is the companies that Xbox is buying are all games that I'm buying separately. And now with Game Pass, I won't have to do that. So, I mean, from a selfish standpoint, there's a couple of new games coming out that I was going to have to dish out $60 for, but they're going to end up on Game Pass, and now I'm not going to have to buy them.
I'm intrigued to see how this plays. Texter says, so now Lonzo is okay with the man being in control. He's consistently inconsistent. I'll give him that. Here's the big problem that I have, the big concern that I have. Aside from, I feel like this could funnel all the games into, like, all the same genre games on each console feeling remarkably similar to each other. I get what you're saying. To have them all in one place is fine. But the thing to me is,
see if there was that problem, you would go look at Game Pass right now and go, all these things are the same, but they're not. I mean,
right, but this is brand new, right? Like Blizzard and Activision and all these studios that have been bought have all been bought recently.
They have bought some companies in the past and brought them in and haven't changed anything, at least from a game standpoint, it looks like. So I'm not worried about all the games looking the same.
I would say this, as far as the conversation that, well, it's cool because they'll all be on Game Pass in the same place. Zoe, there used to be a place where all the video games were in place. It was called the Video Game Store. And you would go into the video game store and just say, here's all the games, and I would like that one. The only difference is, and fat guy thumbs up on this, now I don't have to get off my couch and go buy a game. I can just click the A button and I've got it. I'm just interested to see how it goes. All right. Item number 2, and I'm going to go ahead and issue the spoiler report, the spoiler alert on something that I haven't even seen yet, but the internet is awash in this news. And it's exactly 0% surprising to me. Baby Yoda has showed up on the book of Boba Fett, which of course it has. Of course he has, right? I called that shot before this was even released because Baby Yoda, Grogu, was Disney's most profitable characters, Lonzo, since Elsa in Frozen 10 years ago, or whatever it was, right? I don't think a Disney character has been as profitable as Grogu has for a number of years. And if there's one thing Disney's really good at, it is wringing every cent out of every character that they can figure out how to do it, right? You go to Wally World right now, right? You go down to the old department store and you walk into the kids section. There are still Frozen bed sheets with Elsa on it. Why? Because if kids want it and parents buy it, they're going to keep ringing them dimes out of Elsa and Anna and Olaf and the rest. Considering how incredibly successful and popular Baby Yoda became amongst really all age groups of Star Wars fans, you're going to see him in the book of Boba Fett, obviously. Lonzo, I'll make a prediction. I don't know what the next Star Wars project to come out of Disney is. You're going to see him in that too. Because every time they put him into a new Star Wars project,
I think
they're
the
going to
next,
make another round of
I think
sales.
the next project is actually Obi-Wan. And I don't think it fits into the timeline, but I could be wrong about that.
You excited about that, by the way?
Yes.
Obi-Wan?
Yes.
I think it's the most excited I've been about a Star Wars thing since the first trilogy sucked.
And by the way, as far as Grogu showing up, halfway through Boba Fett, this is a spoiler. Halfway through Boba Fett, it's no longer Boba Fett. Yes, the name is on it. The production value goes up. Everything looks better. Suddenly, we're into season 3 of The Mandalorian.
Is that it, really?
That's why Grogu's there. And it is such a great payoff. Where and who he's with, you need to watch, because all the effects that I've complained about on a certain chase scene for Boba Fett, here's what.
Right? Like they filmed and wrote this months ago, right? But I almost kind of don't wonder I wonder if that was originally the plan, or I wonder if halfway through Mandalorian being as successful as it ended up being, if they weren't like, we need Mandalorian season 2 out of this, right? Because I don't think there is a planned Mandalorian season 2, is there? I don't think they've announced that.
No, there've already been 2 seasons. Season 3.
Or season 3.
Season 3 is filming right now.
Oh, so there is going to be no.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wonder how that decision came about. A couple more things. Peacemaker is out on HBO. Also something I have not gotten to. I will be watching it on Sunday. That's the next on the list
Just
for me.
do not watch it if you have children around.
Yeah, Lonzo told me earlier today. Well, Lonzo said it's like Deadpool, and I finished a sentence like, it's like Deadpool, but on crack, is what I've heard. It's just gory and vulgar and violent and over the top. And that's why it's jumped to the top of my list.
It's all the things that people complained DC wasn't, and now they're complaining about it because it's not dark and broody like DC's supposed to be, because there are certain fan bases you cannot satisfy.
Well, I think you want both, right? Like you want
You
dark and
absolutely
broody, but
want
don't you?
both.
I think if you're a DC guy over a Marvel guy, can we break this down in a minute and a half? If you're a DC guy or a Marvel guy, most of the time, if you're a DC guy, though, you prefer your superheroes to be a little more, I hate to use the word gritty because I think it's overused, but you prefer your superheroes to be a little more gritty, right? Like outside of the Flash, most of the superheroes in the DC universe, they're not throwing out one-liners like Tony Stark. But if you're a Marvel guy, as I am, I think you're a little more, I hate to use the word happy and joyous, but there's a lighter feeling to those comics. I mean, they get dark here and there with like Tony's alcoholism and all that. But if you watch the movie universe specifically, Marvel can't help but put jokes even into the most serious of scenes. And the DC fans don't want that. They want it to
I
be
don't
dark
understand.
and gritty.
All the time. Some of us brood, some of us joke, some of us do that, and some of us can hit all those moods in like a 2-hour period. So I don't get why you have to pick one or the other. It's just I blame it on social media and people picking sides to be cool. It's okay to like both. It's all right.
What I do.
Well, I'm not going to be
I
judgy.
also think if we're being real, outside of like one or two, like I thought the first Wonder Woman movie was good. Not great, but good.
The second one went way too political and roping the lightning. It's just yeah. I mean, no, don't do that.
I don't care about politics. I think politics and art go together. I think they always have, right? I think politics and art always go together, and I don't care where you put it as long as it's a good story. When you start getting over the top, right? Like, and I'm not talking space alien with a giant gold glove who can erase half the universe with a snap. That fits in with the story. Yeah, the rope and the lightning thing. I honestly haven't even seen Wonder Woman 84 because I've heard none of my comic book friends say it was worth the time, so I haven't even watched it yet.
It was so disappointing.
That's what I've heard. As a huge Wonder Woman fan, I don't want that.
Gal Gadot is good in a bad script.
Yeah.
And and everything around her is not. So it's
So I think what DC ultimately has to figure out, Zoe, is that they created the world where we were finally going to get the Justice League, and then they made bad movies.
See what they did, and some people will say they brought a Marvel guy in to make it more Marvel, and then he went back.
I think that
if you like Suicide Squad, the latest Suicide Squad, which was really good,
I liked it.
Then you're going to love this because this is that 100 times more.
And I'm in for that, right? I think you can do violent and gory and vulgar and still tell a good story and have a good time with it. I think it's possible. I think Justice League took itself so seriously, but then gave itself a big time comic book storyline that just didn't fit, because I think they were like, we need to match the Avengers instead of just going, we just need to make the Justice League.
Well, we'll disagree on that because I love Justice League. I love the Zack Snyder cut, and I know after all the hype, you went in and you didn't like it, but that's fine.
I didn't like it. I was like, it's okay. Like, it's okay.
But you've also said that you're a Marvel guy. So as a Marvel guy, you have certain biases against DC going into it.
Didn't want a great Wonder Woman movie? I got Wonder Woman stuff in the
Wonder
office.
Woman's different. I'm talking about Justice League. Justice League, you were hounded by everyone to watch it. So it's like you're being. It's like,
it really was. You guys beat the hell out of me.
It's like homework, and you get there and you're like, oh, watch this. And so I think instead of going, hey, let's go to the theater and watch this, you're being hounded to a point where you're already not going to like it to a certain degree because people have pressured you.
All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We got one more quick segment, then Twitter trending topics to call it a day. I'm Rob. He's Zoe. You're you listening to the South Carolina Broadcasters Association Sport Talk Radio Show of the Year, The Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
And you didn't
Jackass.
Didn't even.
That's what I wanted to ask about.
You didn't even talk about Vox Machina.
I did. I got to tell you.
You're afraid to go so nerdy that people are like, oh my gosh, he's really this.
Mainstream nerd works. I think there's a point where you cross from.
But we're okay.
Dedicated enough that you know who and what we are, right? I think on the air, I think there is a line where you go too nerdy and you get. If I taught Vox Machina, like Batman, you don't have to be a nerd to get and enjoy Batman, Superman, Iron Man, Wonder Woman, Captain America. If I start talking about Keelan the Ashari Druid, even the nerds are going to be like, who and what?
No, well, I disagree, but
I think that's podcast.
Rob doesn't realize he just basically destroyed my Saturday show, but that's fine. But again, that audience knows how nerdy we can really be.
No awkward face-to-face conversations to get your prescription. Hims connects you to medical providers online who can evaluate you and, if appropriate, prescribe your ED medication. Then a certified pharmacy sends it right to your door. Hims makes it affordable, private, and incredibly easy. Nobody likes dealing with ED. Now, thanks to Hims, nobody has to, and that's really good news. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, forhims.com/joy. That's forhims.com/joy for your free online visit. forhims.com/joy. With just one spray of Microban 24, your hard surfaces are sanitized for up to 24 hours. Touch after touch after touch.
So 6 hours from now?
Still sanitized.
12 hours?
Yep.
18 hours?
We're really doing this.
24 hours.
When used as directed, one spray of Microban keeps killing 99.9% of bacteria, touch after touch for, up to 24 hours.
Wow.
Microban 24, the sanitizer 4 out of 5 doctors would use in their own homes. So why not you?
The Winter Olympics are coming. 17 days of action, excitement, glory, and history in the making. Don't miss a single epic moment. The Winter Olympics continue tonight on NBC and Peacock.
Cutting the price of your wireless bill feels good, really good. Actually, it feels great. You should try it out. So cut your bill by switching to Straight Talk Wireless. Now offering our $45 Silver Unlimited plan with 5 gigabytes of hotspot and nationwide 5G on America's largest, most dependable networks. The $45 Silver Unlimited plan from Straight Talk. Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise.
Unlimited equals 30 days. See terms and conditions at straighttalk.com. 5G capable device required. Actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary.
Hi, I'm Flo from Progressive. If you love the sports like me, you get annoyed with your team or players. So Progressive's going to help take your mind of your team. Or that
So what I got out of our last conversation is the Upstate Pulse should be a podcast because it shouldn't be on
No,
the air.
you guys have a niche.
Yes, we do.
Do you think so? Genuine question. Do you guys will you talk about Vox Machina?
Yes, and we have, and we shall. Yes.
I would come in to have the Vox Machina conversation on that show because you guys have that niche. This is a sports talk station.
You're right. You're right. And I'm just messing with you. And we're back from break.
Only sports for the rest of my career, ladies and gentlemen. Only sports, courtesy of Lonzo.
It's not going to happen. We know that.
Not a chance. Not a chance. Last story I'm going to give you before we get out of here for the day with Twitter here in just a minute. You know, I've always had a problem when there is an investigation and potential wrongdoing and the decision about whether or not the results of that investigation get out to the public who care about it is left in the hands of those who are being investigated. The House Committee for Oversight and Reform had a hearing on Capitol Hill the day before yesterday, where they brought in a number of former employees of the Washington football team and had them under oath talk about their experiences there. And let's just say it did not go well for the image of the Washington Commanders. They look real, real bad. By the way, I just always want to say Commanders in the voice of Cobra Commander. Speaking of nerd stuff. We'll get you, Cowboys. So, anyway, the NFL obviously has the results of the investigation that they did. Dan Snyder fined $1 million, suspended for the year, had to stay away from the team, et cetera, et cetera. And the House Committee on Oversight and Reform, which obviously has no, what's the word? Not power. What's the word?
Jurisdiction?
That one. Thank you, hottie intellectual. No jurisdiction over the National Football League, has once again requested that the NFL put out the results of the Washington football team investigation. I'm sorry, the Commanders investigation. The NFL had a committee take a vote, and they decided that Dan Snyder would indeed have jurisdiction. I'm going to use that word as many times as I can for the rest of the day. Dan Snyder would have jurisdiction to decide that it was okay to release the results of that investigation. You know, the Dan Snyder that they were investigating. Roger Goodell has previously contended that the league cannot release the internal investigation because Beth Wilkinson, the attorney that oversaw the investigation, submitted her report to the league orally, right? She told them what she found. Well, Wilkinson has since, submitted her results in documents, which now the NFL has. And so they were asked again, do us a favor, put these out so that we can all see exactly what happened there and figure out what we need to do so that it doesn't happen again. The NFL has effectively said, hey, Dan, you good with these investigation results going out or not? And this may surprise you, Lonzo, but Dan Snyder has said he doesn't want the results to go out.
No.
Shocking, I know. Shocking, I know. How in the world is this cool, man? How in the world is this cool? This is the kind of crap that makes it really tough to not get mad as hell at the NFL, right? Like, I can't walk away because it's my job, but it makes it really, really tough. Maybe it's just me. Maybe people don't care. I don't know. We'll see. Let's take a break. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for Twitter Trending Topics, and we call it a week. Lonzo Rob, you, ESPN Upstate.
Saturday, sunshine high 46 degrees. Sunday, mostly sunny high 46. Monday, partly sunshine high 47. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Buchitsky of ESPN Upstate. Currently, it's 60.
ESPN Upstate. No matter where the ball bounces, we've got your hookup on your radio at 97.7 FM in Greenville and 97.1 FM in Spartanburg, on your computer at ESPNUpstate.com, on your phone or tablet.
Gotta say, there are times when I go by that office and I think that I'm going to see demons come out. Just saying. To see one just go flying by me and be like, yep, there we go. Maybe it's all front. Maybe he's actually, in his own vehicle rocking some Lionel Richie. Singing why, that's why I'm easy, sitting at a red light at the top of his lungs. You're welcome. You're welcome anyway. Haha. So there.
A friend told me.
What in the world?
That they did.
Oh, that's not good. Look at the phone.
I don't think it's supposed to look like that.
I don't think it's supposed to look like that either. Suddenly it shows every phone and okay. I guess I might be needing to take a trip down to engineering and mention something to them. Especially since we have a couple of shows that might need their phones.
Well, I'm sitting in for Mark for the first hour, so.
Are you really? I didn't know that. Oh, it's back. You're good. You just had to say that. I forgot that he wasn't here. Perhaps you can get Diesel and you and he can sing a rendition of that. Where do you think he'd go? Lower or higher? I think he'd go higher.
Um,
I'm gonna
see,
go with higher.
My band voice is either in the middle or scream rock. There's no high, there's no low. It's either right in the middle.
I know I'm talking about him. I'm not talking.
I think he would. He's not a full baritone.
I'm pretty sure, and I could be wrong, because he's been here like over a decade. That he used to sing in a band, and I could be wrong. I could be thinking of someone else, but I'm pretty sure it was him. We'll have to ask him when he comes in, because I'm now might have been somebody else with a well manicured beard. All right, time for Twitter trending topics, where we tell Rob what is trending on the internet, and he will tell us what it means. The first thing that's trending is the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
RCHP. I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but they love California. I have no idea why they're trending. I'm going to guess they are performing the national anthem
Do they
at the
love
Super Bowl.
Danny, California?
That's in Southern California, so yes.
That's
I don't
not-
know if it is.
I think
don't
it
know
was
if
more
that
like a
means or not.
person
Yeah,
in
I
the
think
song.
so too.
But apparently they weren't together, and now they are. Unless Twitter was wrong.
Which never happens. I mean, Twitter's never wrong.
I believe they weren't together for a while, and now they're back together and ready to rock.
Sometimes you just need a little break, right? Sometimes you just got to do the old
It
personal
might
reset.
have been longer of a break than you think. When's the last time they had music out?
I couldn't even tell you, to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not a huge Chili Peppers fan. I have nothing against them. I like their stuff when it's on the radio.
Yeah, I'm
Like,
okay
I'll turn
with
them
it.
off, but I don't think I've ever gone out of my way to listen to the Red Hot Chili Peppers. They're
I love
very
their Flea on the bass.
Yeah.
Just kills it on that
To
song.
me, Flea is the Red Hot Chili Peppers, right? Like, he is the Chili Peppers. Because outside of that, and it's not a shot, like, everything the Chili Peppers do sounds like everything else the Chili Peppers do.
And Anthony Cletus, whatever his name was in Point Break.
Was he really?
Yeah, he tried to beat up. He was in the fight with Keanu Reeves and
I
Patrick
gotta rewatch
Swayze.
Point Break.
And apparently he showed up high and drunk and didn't really learn a lot of lines. His part was supposed to be bigger, but the part he was playing was a guy who was high and drunk and wants
So it
to
worked
fight
out
all the
fine.
time. Yeah, it
He's
worked.
method acting. Get off him.
It worked. He was jacked though, so I mean, it worked out okay. All right, the next thing that's trending is Keith Lee.
Keith Lee has been putting a lot of stuff on Twitter the last couple of days. The former WWE wrestler released a handful of months ago and expected to be one of the biggest free agent acquisitions in wrestling for whoever gets him. He also had some medical issues. I think COVID kind of hit him pretty hard as far as his lung capacity, and it kind of took away from what he was able to do. But he's been getting very active on Twitter, which means I suspect we got to be getting close to the end of his 90, right?
All the 90s up for
90s
a ton of people, including him, Ember Moon, some other
so
people.
we're going to start seeing them start popping
Karrion
up.
Kross, a lot of those guys.
Yeah. I got a feeling Keith Moon's in AEW. I don't think they signed the
Yeah,
entire
Keith Lee.
release crop. I mean, Keith Moon.
Keith Moon's.
Keith Moon's doing whatever the hell Keith Moon wants to do.
I don't think he's around anymore.
Yeah, that's true. Keith Moon could have done. I suspect of that group, Keith Lee's going to AEW. I could see Ember Moon showing up.
They need more women.
Yeah.
Their women, the women there it's starting to get better, but a few more acquisitions.
I can see Ember Moon showing up. I don't know if they go Karrion Kross. They've already kind of got a couple of the big time monster guys. I don't know if they need another one.
I think the rumor is Impact for him. All right, one last thing.
One more.
Trending is GTA 6.
GTA 6. After 5, which they have re-released GTA 5 like threatening Skyrim levels of time. GTA 6 is in production.
Well, they're now saying, it was rumored, but they're now confirming that it's happening.
Very nice. I'm for it. I've played every GTA series game from start to finish.
I played a little bit of the multiplayer. Just
I enjoyed it. Me and little brother played a lot of the online. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a surprise for you. Are you ready? Good. You get one more hour of this guy. Mark Ryan's out today. Rob Brown filling in for the first hour of Offsides with Diesel. That'll be next. Lonzo's out for the week, though. Say bye. See you Monday back here for the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate. Later, brother.
All right, so would you like me to leave the stream up or take it down?
No, I'm going to take it down.
Okay.
Thanks, stream. See you Monday.